Hi, I'm Craig Conway and welcome to the Rovers Chat, the home of everything Blackburn Rovers.
And we're live. Good evening, Rovers fans, and welcome to Rovers Chat Deadline Day Transfer Special. My name's Jonathan Secker and I'll be your host for this evening. Dry January's done, so sit back, relax and grab yourself a beer. Transfer Deadline Day, the adult version of Christmas Day. A day usually spent in front of TV watching Sky Sports News, but we've all decided this is the place we'd rather be. A day we end up Googling players we've never heard of. A day where Wikipedia updates a player's move before they even know. A day where clubs try to reveal signings in the most imaginative and wacky ways ever. And a day where at 5 minutes before the window closes, you sign a Greek goalkeeper whose name you can't pronounce. So in comparison to many championship clubs, it's been a busy day for Rovers so far. Anyone having a late lunch today would have been able to squeeze some HP sauce onto their food as we completed the signing of Harry Pickering from Crewe Alexandra on a 4-year deal for an undisclosed fee, led to be in the region of 650k. Pickering will spend the rest of the season on loan with the Railmen before joining Rovers in the summer. Signing number 2 of the day was rising star Taylor Harwood-Bellis, on loan from Premier League leaders Manchester City until the end of the season to help boost our defensive options. It looks like that might be on incomings, but who knows? I'm, for one, still hoping for a 5-minute warning before the clock strikes at 11 p.m. tonight. Whereas we can never guarantee the success of signings, as Rich Sharp did say earlier, at the start of this month, we needed centre-backs. The funds were sanctioned and we've gone out and bought in the best 2 young Premier League loanees available. Top 2 targets nailed. Credit where it's due. As well as incomings, we've seen youngster Joe Grayson go out on loan to League One side Oxford and are waiting to see if any youngster leaves on loan. Tyler Bagor, possibly one bit of business left to be had. It won't be Jack Fail, as he's currently in action for the under-23s, scoring, putting us ahead. And it's also unlikely that we'll see any big-name departures, as Benno is also in action for the under-23s, and there's been no concrete interest in any of our other players. We've got loads to discuss tonight, from incomings to outgoing, rumours to contracts. It's going to be a jam-packed show. Please to keep your comments and questions coming in through the chat function. We'll do our best to showcase and answer as many as possible. The plan for this evening is we're going to be live for roughly the next hour and a half before having a short break at 10 o'clock. But even though we do break, that's no reason for you to switch off, as we'll be having an airing of a sneak preview into the soon-to-be-released Craig Conway podcast. We'll then return at roughly 10 past 10 for the last hour of the transfer window, maybe even with a panel transfer of our own at that point. Before we kick into it, just again, another plea to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you don't already. We're only less than 50 subscribers away from 1,000 subscribers, so please do help us to reach our target. You can also keep up to date with all things Rovers through the Rovers social chat channels, and you'll be seeing those listed on your screen throughout the show. So I'm joined tonight by Luke Kimbley, who's a regular contributor to the Rovers Chat live streams. How are you, Luke? Transfer fever hit you today?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Been blogging all day, refreshing pages on Twitter, all sorts. But yeah, it's been good, hasn't it? And we're all in yellow, apart from the boys on the bottom left and the top right. But we'll fly the flag there, Jonathan. So yeah, excited. It's been great, hasn't it? It's good to get the signings over the line. Chuffed to bits, really. I'm sure we'll go into it.
And I'm also joined by Ryan Hildred, who's the face of our Matchday live streams and on the Other Side show. Ryan, how are things?
Yeah, I'm good. I've not quite soaked it up as much as Luke has. I've had a bit of long division and ancient Egypt to do with my boy at homeschooling. So I've had half the experience today, but excited now.
Good. And you will also see we've been joined by a special guest tonight. We'll come to Jacob shortly, but just before we start, just a quick message from our sponsors, 6 Yards Out.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.
Yep, as I've said, been joined as well by my usual partners in crime, but a special guest of Jacob from Lancs Live. He's the one we want to speak to, so thanks for taking your time to join us, Jacob. I must start with a burning question on everyone's lips today, which I'm hoping you can answer. Has Peter Odemwingie been spotted in car park H at EWOOD Park today?
No, Peter. I think Harry Redknapp was supposed to be on Sky Sports this evening as well. I haven't seen him yet. Might be on at 9 o'clock though, so I wouldn't recommend anybody watch him instead of you guys.
Thank you. Thanks very much. So, how's today been for you? Was it what we was expecting to happen? And then I suppose the burning question is, are we expecting anything else before the window closes?
Yeah, pretty much what was expected to happen, really. I probably expected one or two more outgoings than there has been. There is still potential for a late deal for Tyler Maguire, but as sort of clock ticks on, it looks less and less likely, but that's still an option that we could see later on. Ideally, Rovers want to try and get a Football League move for him, especially with the uncertainty of the National League season at the minute. So that means a move there is quite unlikely. But yeah, Harry Pickering, Taylor Harwood, BELLIS, they were the two that were due to come in and obviously came in, and that was pretty much it. That was what Rovers had scope to move with. And well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm over the moon about the pair of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Pickering I've likened to our sort of version of a soap opera over the window, and we spoke about him on this show a number of times. So yeah, he's a great signing. So I suppose leading on to that, Jacob, what do you feel that both these two players can bring to Rovers?
Well, start off with Harry. He's obviously the long-term solution to a left-back tissue. Obviously, Rovers were going to have to address that in the summer with Barry Douglas's loan expiring, and he's obviously out of contract with Leeds in the summer. And then Amari Bell's contract also expires in the summer. So it was an area that they needed to address. Pickering has sort of been on their radar for a long time. He's someone that they admire. He ticks a lot of the right boxes in terms of the way he plays, his attacking capabilities, his affordability and attainability. And it all seemed to come together at the right time. Obviously, Rovers put in a bid earlier in the window, didn't quite have enough to lure him from Crewe, and obviously Crewe are going to be stubborn on their valuation of him. There's no need for them to sort of like lower for one of their best players, especially even in this current climate. And obviously Sheffield Wednesday came in, which I think sort of triggered Rovers a little bit because they were quite happy to sit off and sort of wait till the summer. But Sheffield Wednesday only offered like sort of an instalment plan, which took the biscuit with Crewe a little bit, and they sort of laugh that off, which sort of summarises the situation they're in at the minute. But that's a completely different story. And then yeah, obviously Mowbray's had conversations with the board about long-term planning and sort of investing for the future, and they've obviously come to an agreement on this particular player, and Rovers have been able to go ahead with it and press on with the deal and get their man. And a 4.5-year deal is some statement as well. Shows their faith in him being the player to sort of bomb up and down the left flank in the future.
Yeah, Ryan, anything you want to add on your thoughts on the signings?
We've just got a few comments coming in. So Jacob, I don't know if you want to answer these. So Ross Gibson, I'm sure this one's been coming up in lots of the social media and chat things. Why are we loaning Pickering back? Would it not be better to keep him at the club and ease him into the first team? So I think a lot of fans have given their view on that, Jacob. But have you had anything out of the club or anything from Crewe on this line?
Yeah, I was supposed to do a piece on this evening. I just haven't got around to it. Probably do it in the morning, knowing me. But yeah, so when it sort of came to negotiations, the fact that Rovers were sort of open to loaning him back was a big yes for Crewe in negotiations. Obviously, they didn't really want to lose their star man without a contingency plan in place. And the fact that Rovers were sort of willing to loan him back was a big yes in terms of negotiations. It made it a lot easier to come to an agreement. And Rovers obviously already have 2 left backs in place, and Barry Douglas is in great form at the minute. The sort of consensus there is that with obviously Douglas playing so well, he probably won't get into the team at this sort of stage, and I'd rather let him see through his development at Crewe until the end of the season, where he can then come back, and obviously the first team spot will be his next season.
And Jonathan, just another one from Michael Pearson here, probably just who else wishes Pickering was available for us already? I think we've all seen the video clips, all seen all of the analysis, some done by Joe and Andy on our channel. I think it's whetted everyone's appetite, hasn't it? But I think the point that Jacob makes there about Barry Douglas is obviously the one that has probably helped Rovers sanction this a bit more. Then Michael Pearson further commenting, must have been the condition to loan back. And then Jonathan, I'm just going to maybe park a comment for later. Jacob, you might want to revisit this one as part of Jonathan's running order. Jacob, have we missed out on anyone that you know of? So we'll just hang that one in there, Jonathan, for when you want to pick that one up.
Yeah, okay, that's a very good one. That was on my list, so thank you for that comment, Chris. Before we come on to that one, Jacob, looking at obviously what we brought in terms of Taylor, HARWOOD, BELLIS, and then also Branthwaite earlier in the window. How come Rovers at the moment seem to be becoming the Premier League academy of the Northwest?
I think the main factor is Tony Mowbray. Obviously, he's built sort of a reputation for developing young players. Other clubs have seen what he's done at Coventry and teams before that. Coventry especially is a good example, where he had the likes of Adam Armstrong and Ryan Kent, and they all had fantastic seasons and have all sort of blossomed from their loan spells with him. And just sort of the work that they can see at Rovers at the minute in terms of the way they're integrating youth players, they're giving opportunities to younger players, and the environment where like younger players can prosper there. And the facilities at Brockhall are excellent as well. They're top notch. They're sort of Premier League standard in a way, apart from when the pitches are frozen over. So all of that sort of combined, when you put it all together, it's a very enticing prospect for Premier League clubs. They can trust Rovers to nurture their young talents, and the system as well. I mean, with Harvey Elliott, I know it was a big topic in regards to Liverpool, and Liverpool obviously seen the system that Rovers are trying to deploy, the way they're trying to play, and that was a big factor in them allowing Elliott to join on loan. And the same sort of applies with Branthwaite and HARWOOD, BELLIS. Like, they know they're in a good place to develop, like hone their craft, learn their trade, and clubs trust Mowbray and the club far more than others to nurture that. And I think it's Mowbray's sort of it's his honest persona. Like, he'll say it how it is. He won't mince his words. And at a young age, you sort of need a character like that in your career, where you can, and obviously with HARWOOD, BELLIS and Branthwaite as well, with Mowbray being a centre half back in his heyday. He said the other week, there's a few hints and tips that he's been giving Branthwaite. You can see the raw edges to him. And Premier League clubs will obviously appreciate that, because they'll be better players for it in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of a leading question, really, because I agree totally on how much of a coup it is for us and how much people do value Mowbray. It'd be frightening to see what Premier League managers he's probably got on speed dial at the moment. And just linking on a bit from what you said about the Harvey Elliott point, and half the point that captured him coming to Blackburn about the formation. How's that going to work with HARWOOD, BELLIS? What are we expecting, a change in formation, or do we see him slotting in, or how's it going to work, in your opinion?
It is. It's something that I imagine me, Rich, and Andy are looking forward to asking Mowbray on Thursday. Should be on Thursday, the press conference, but yeah, it's an interesting one. But it gives Rovers so much variety in the way that they can set up. I mean, injuries have hindered them a lot this season. And after the Ayala deal, Mowbray was saying that he would attempt to try a 5 at the back at some stage, but unfortunately, selection issues have prevented him from doing that. And it gives him the scope to sort of alter things against certain opposition. If a team operates with a 5 at the back, which we've seen quite a few times this season, and Rovers have sort of struggled to combat against it. It gives them a scope to sort of match up to them man to man. And I would like to see sort of a wing back option if you were to have HARWOOD, BELLIS, Lenihan and Branthwaite as your defensive trio, and then have Nyambe and Douglas as your wing backs. Obviously, Barry Douglas has proven during his time at Wolves that as a wing back he can be exceptional. His assist tally in that season was just tremendous. Nobody could match him. I think just the variety that Rovers can have tactics-wise can be a big positive, like towards the second half of the season when you're encountering different types of teams. We all know what the Championship's like, with different styles, different setups, different systems, and it just gives Rovers a different dynamic, which I'll definitely be grateful for.
Yeah, indeed. And just going to jump off from a question there for a minute, because I'm lucky to have 2 screens, and on my other screen I've just seen a superb finish from Bradley Dack to make it 3-1 to the under-23s at Leicester. Also a goal by John Nolan, who was signing in January as well. So fantastic to see a trademark sort of curling finish there. So another great result for the under-23s. Right, Ryan, we'll come back to that question that we had earlier, and then if we've got any more in the comments, we can test Jacob.
Yeah, we've got a few more questions in. So I've got questions from Simon Slater, Chris Hayes, and Leap Year Man, which we'll come on to. But Jacob, probably 2 just relating to HARWOOD, BELLIS. So the first here from Ross Gibson: how much game time will HARWOOD, BELLIS get, as Branthwaite has looked good in the 2 games he's played? And then probably linked into that, Michael Pearson suggesting 3-5-2 realistic. So 2 questions there, whether Jacob wants to answer or Luke, whoever, I guess.
I'll let Jacob answer it, and I'll chip in afterwards if you want. We'll utilise you while you're here, Jacob. Why not?
Thanks, mate. In the current system, if I were to go for it at the back, I couldn't see HARWOOD, BELLIS breaking in. I think Branthwaite's done enough to be reassured by Mowbray that he'll be starting alongside Lenihan. So if they were to retain foot at the back, then HARWOOD, BELLIS would mostly be on the bench. But obviously, Man City would have sought assurances in his playing time. No doubt that Mowbray would have been honest with them with the current situation, and they're probably appreciative of that. So I think there'll be like some fine tuning. I mean, Branthwaite's still only 18 as well. I mean, I had this conversation with about Harvey Elliott in terms of his age and obviously his recent performances, and I feel like fatigue is starting to creep in a little bit, and it can be quite easy to forget how young some of these players are, and obviously the relentless cycle of the schedule can take its toll sometimes. So at 18, there's sometimes fatigue is going to creep in. So, and obviously there's 6 fixtures as well to contend with in February. But I think we might see a formation change if anything previous hints are to go by. But as I said before, it just gives Rovers better variety. And as for the 3-5-2, I'm all for it. Whether, I mean, 5 at the back, 3 at the back, same thing, aren't they, really? But whether you could have 2 up front or even the 1 and have like a Dack and Elliott as the inside forwards in behind. There's just so much to go at. And then you've still got a load of other midfield options that you can consider, like Holtby, Rothwell. And you still got Johnson, who unfortunately will be out for another month, Davenport as well. There's just an awful lot to go at, really, and there's different setups for different teams, which will stand Rovers in good stead moving forward.
That's probably my take on it as well. I'd have gone with a similar thing. I think it's good that you can get the opportunity to give our fullbacks a little bit more freedom, especially Barry Douglas. If we can get him in more attacking positions and perhaps have a yard of space in front of him, he's the kind of player that can just pick a ball up then. And we've seen it in recent games that he's starting to look a bit more confident on the ball. Certainly getting the balls in that we were expecting from someone like Barry Douglas. So I think that's only going to stand us in good stead in that remark. And something I did pick up really is we've had this recent, certainly this season, this sort of month to month drop in form. So 1 month will be absolutely outstanding, and then the next month it seems to fall off a little bit. So I think by having the option to mix it up a little bit it gives the opposition manager a little bit of a headache. And exactly what Jacob said on 𝐷𝐻, Dak don't seem to have. Obviously, he's come back a little bit rusty. There's no two ways about that. He's been out for a long while, so you expect that. But I don't think the system does him any favours. So I think by having the opportunity to change the system a little bit, we're going to get the very best out of Bradley Dack, and that's frightening in the Championship. There's no doubt about
it. Jonathan, just a few more questions that we've had in. Simon Slater's asked it. Don't want to put a dampener on the evening, but don't we need to sell or shift a large amount of either wages in loans to selling players to stay in FFP? And then a similar point raised by Pro Slater Dog. Don't want to put a downer on the night, but don't we need to sell/loan players out to stay in FFP? So I don't know if Jacob's got any insight on, finances at the club or what might happen in the summer, just on those two questions.
I spoke to Steve Waggett about FFP, and at the minute Rovers are okay. Obviously, they can't afford to be chucking too much at it. But the Pickering deal was within reason. I think the sort of consensus all along was that at some stage Rovers are going to have to sell an asset. Obviously, there was talk of Armstrong before the window, but nothing's really materialised at that front. I've had 1 or 2 Premier League clubs to make contact about it just to see. But if there's going to be anything concrete on that front, it's more likely to be in the summer. Whether Rovers are going to get the sort of offers that they are hoping to get is a completely different picture. But there is going to be a point where they're going to have to sell an asset at some stage. But as in regards to FFP, Rovers are not too concerned on that. They're on the boundaries of that sort of line, and the loans sort of help a bit. Obviously, they've filled a few spots in the squad, but the loans haven't hampered that too much. But obviously, kept them competitive with the squad. But we were sort of expecting outgoings at this point of a window, and obviously that hasn't materialised. But I think we can see a few departures over the summer.
Great. And then just 2 more questions. So Jonathan's just reliably informed me that Chris Hayes is Wegley's Wiggle on Twitter, who put a fantastic blonde wig on me and superimposed Jonathan and Alex on the Sky Sports studio as well. That was top, Chris. But he has asked a question, Jacob. Have we missed out on anyone that you know of from what you've had today?
I wouldn't say missed out. So obviously Rovers made contact with Liverpool about Sepp van den Berg. That didn't really materialise, and obviously now Preston have signed him on loan, sort of helped by the whole Tom Davies situation. And then there was Cedric Kipre as well, which just proved to be obstacle after obstacle in that regard, whether it be West Brom willing to sanction a loan deal, the finances involved, the wages involved. So it was just stumbling block after stumbling block, and Rovers couldn't work out a deal in the end, and obviously ended up at the door of Taylor Harwood BELLIS, which in my mind seems like a better deal in all truth, but that's up for everybody else's opinion. So it was just them two that were sort of the main ones. I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. No, I think that was it. Pretty much.
Well, we'll put a question to the Rovers viewers whilst we ask this next question. So, Rovers viewers, would you have preferred Kipre or Harwood BELLIS? Jacob's just put it out there, so let us know in the comments. final question, Jacob. Leap year man. Do you have any info on a potential late transfer for Josh King? And then Abby Sahar just making the point, you know, the rumours are that we've got a 20% sell on and Everton are in for 5 to 6 million. So any info that you've got on that one?
I've seen Alan Myers is getting all giddy on Twitter, which suggests to me that something is happening. Yeah, I think with the whole Josh King saga, obviously his wage demands were, well, initially anyway, were excessive. But I think Everton have reached a point where either he's able to compromise and they're willing to go for it. So before I come on here, actually, it looked like it was going ahead, and that would allow Anthony Gordon to go to Preston as well, which is not a bad signing for them. So yeah, it looks like a deal should go through before the deadline, and it has been suggested at 20%. It's never been confirmed, but the feeling among everyone, all the people that I speak to, is that it's 20%. So, which for Rovers is it's a great sort of amount, tidy income, which will be very much welcomed. Although it's not likely to go towards a transfer budget, it'll most likely be used to sort of cover the expenditure of the club, like the daily costs and stuff. But again, it's very much welcomed, especially when you don't expect to get it.
Great. I think Luke's got some info about Josh King, but just to pick up the comments, Michael Pearson is saying, Kipre, what a saga. HARWOOD BELLIS for me. And then also THB had no hesitation in joining and saying all the right things. And yeah, he seems to be a character that fits the Mowbray mould, isn't he? And then by remotes, HARWOOD BELLIS for me, because this will be his first major chance to prove what he has in the Pro League. So yeah, I think we're all happy with that signing today. So Luke, you've got some info on Josh King, haven't you?
Yeah, you're right, Jacob. Alan Myers is getting very giddy, and he's informed us all reliably that Bournemouth have agreed a deal with both Everton and Fulham. So that one's going to go to the wire, and it looks like Rovers are certainly going to get something out of a Josh King deal, which is, given his contracts up in the summer and he's got extortionate wage demands, there's every chance that one we're just going to, fizzle out and nothing had happened there. So that's an exciting one that's going to go to the wire, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. And just before we go back to Jacob, just an update on the under 23s and Dan O'Ryan. If you can bring up Duncan Lee Easton's comment that's just come in. They have won tonight, 3-1 at Leicester. Bradley Dack got through 90 minutes, scored the third goal. The win's taken the under 23s to the top of the table. They've taken 17 out of 21 points away from home. So real good sort of signs there. So he's mentioned also as well, Nolan from Preston is a tidy player. Any insight knowledge on him, Jacob? Thoughts on him, what you've seen so far?
He does look a very tidy player, doesn't he? Actually, I'm a big fan. Again, you look at it and you think, why on earth have Preston North End let him go? But he seems to fit right in with how Billy Barr sort of wants his team to play. He's engaging, energetic. He box to box. He likes to get forward, but he's not afraid to muck in at the back as well. He looks a very, very tidy player, and certainly one to keep an eye on as the season progresses. And under 23s at the minute are in exceptional form. They was really unlucky not to win against Manchester City last week. And if anything, that just proves how far they've sort of come as a development squad. The fact that they can go to the Academy Stadium against a team with that wealth of resource and players such as James McAtee and Tommy Doyle, and sort of dominate proceedings like that. Very bright future for the club, most definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those credit as well that we've kept the Category 1 status. It's interesting listening back to the Tyrese Dolan podcast he did and how he mentioned the difference between the academies between Blackburn and Preston. Though not wanting to dwell too much on Preston, I know you work alongside George, who covers Preston, Jacob. I've just got a feeling that he copies your notes every week, because everyone we're linked to, 10 minutes later, they go and try and sign.
I feel like I've said Preston like far too many times in this podcast already. I think I've said them about 5 times. I need to cut it out. But yeah, it's ridiculous. Like every player Rovers are linked with, about a day later, a rumour emerges that they're also wanting them.
Yeah, well, on that, and then on one rumour that has surfaced this afternoon, which is, I don't think, got much legs to it, which will probably mean Preston will be linked with this player tomorrow, thinking they can still sign him. Charlie Kirk. It come about that Charlton put a bid in for him this morning. Lots of to and fro between Charlton and Crewe. Lots of sort of shade thrown out there, dare I say, agent talk that had messed it up. Rumours that Pickering's very close with Kirk, and that something was on the cards for Kirk to move. Anything in that?
Didn't hear anything from it. No, I sort of I seen earlier about Charlton making a bid, and it looked to be going quite smoothly. And then I seen Artel's comments this afternoon about agent interference and trying to muck up the deal or something. Sounded like he was trying to go public with the details. That's what was being said from like the Crewe side. But no, there's never really any genuine Rovers interest in that. Obviously, Harry Pickering's got a great relationship with Kirk on and off the pitch. Obviously, they were excellent on Saturday. If you manage to get a clip of them playing together, they look a great little partnership. But as far as Rovers' interest was concerned, there was nothing genuine in that.
Okay, yeah, it's good. Thanks for that. Is like you say, watching. I've seen a lot of Crewe this year and what they produce in terms of players, and those two down the left-hand side have been quite frightening, really. Switching it now to sort of outgoings and a bit more on Joe Grayson. So he's obviously moved to Oxford, which I think personally is a good move for him. Good football club, got a good manager in Carl Robinson, and a team that likes to play football. What's your views on that? When did that sort of like come to fruition or come out that something was going to happen with Joe?
Yeah, I agree with you totally. I think it's a fantastic move. I don't think Rovers could have probably sourced a better one, in all truth. The feeling was sort of before the start of a window when Rovers were planning how the month was going to unfold, that Joe Grayson was likely to be loaned out. Same with obviously Hayden Carter, and they managed to source that a lot earlier. And then spoke to Billy Barr last week, sort of for his views on what's next for his development. And obviously with the injury troubles that he's had over like the past year, he was sort of in desperate need of some regular first team football just to get his career path back on track. And he was excellent for under 23 since he come back from injury. And yeah, it's a brilliant move for him, for a team that sort of started off slowly in the division, and now they've picked up. They're in great form, certainly pushing for a playoff spot towards the end of the season, if not a promotion spot. And no doubt he'll play a part in it. And obviously his versatility will be a great asset for Carl Robinson.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what I thought was quite interesting, reading the comments from Robinson, who thanked Rovers a lot for this deal. But he also mentioned Grayson is sort of like a holding midfielder as well, which I thought was an interesting dimension to what will happen. And I remember it was probably a couple of years ago now that he went on loan to Grimsby, and he did well in the 8 to 9 games that he had. So yeah, looking forward to this. Right, a couple more questions come in, Jacob, and I'm going to let you choose between these two of which one you want to answer first. So Ollie James has asked, is Jacob a Rovers fan? And Abby Saha has asked, could McGlaw still go out on loan this season?
Which one do I have to answer?
It's entirely up to you, man. I'm being nice to you. I know the answer to one.
Do I have to admit to the answer to the first one?
Well, you can just say you're not a Blackburn fan.
I'm a fond admirer. If that works, does that tick the box?
Oh, yeah, if you're saying we're turning you, that's fine. Yeah, we can handle that.
I'll be honest here. I'm a Birmingham fan. Have been since I was a little kid, but I've certainly got a big spot in my heart for Rovers at the minute after being in a job. So Yeah, no, I've got a lot of time, obviously, for Blackburn. Can't really say anything else, can I? And as for Maguire, I've just checked, still haven't heard anything in that regard. Obviously, deadline's coming up, so at the minute it looks increasingly unlikely that something will work. Nice of Orton to put that up. So yeah, I think the intention was, but at first, when Maguire returned from Hartlepool, it was to get him a loan deal. Then they sort of reassessed the situation and decided that it was best for sort of him to stay, given the need for cover at that stage. And then obviously with the arrival of Taylor Harwood-Bellis, it was sort of a late shift in saying, offering him to clubs. And Hartlepool were always interested, but again with the uncertainty of the National League at the minute. I mean, Rovers ideally would want to get him into a higher league than that. But if worse come to worse with the situation, then Hartlepool would have been perhaps a sensible returnee option. But as things stand, it looks likely that he'll probably stay. And given Ayala's current injury troubles, he'll be fourth choice centre back for the time being.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. Ollie, Ryan, you've picked that up before I said that. Ollie, I can tell you now, if Jacob did support Burnley, there is no way whatsoever that he would be allowed anywhere near this stream.
Yeah, we could just laugh at him because of all the inactivity of Burnley this window, so it'd be all right. We could have a good comedy scene. It'd be good.
Yeah, just building on what we spoke about with Maguire, and if we can bring up the comment from Simon Child, Ryan. We've spoken about quite a lot how we've got quite a lot of young defenders from the academy that are got potential. It's good that we can get a few out loan, sort of, and Simon said, competing for fourth and fifth centre-back choice upon their return. The reality is, when we hit the summer, we're going to lose the loanees back to their club. We're going to lose Derek Williams, I imagine. How do you see the sort of like centre-back situation looking next season? Do you think that they'll still be in the market for more, or will the youngsters get more of an opportunity?
I think it sort of depends entirely on how they see the development faring. Obviously, Hayden Carter's made a really good start at Burton. Tyler Maguire is definitely somebody that Mowbray likes. He's a bit raw around the edges, but he's got the sort of physical attributes to sort of be a star in the future. Obviously, there's Joe Grayson as well. In fact, Rovers have got a good array of central defensive options, especially in the development squad. Louis Annesley's one, Sam Barnes is another. Definitely ones to sort of keep an eye on. Whether they're ready for first team fold next season is probably a bit too premature. But it sort of depends what Rovers decides to do with Derek Williams. Obviously, he's out of contract in the summer. On his day, he can be an exceptional defender. We're all aware of that. It's injury issues which sort of undermine him a little bit. There will be discussions sort of later on in the coming months to decide what they intend to do with Williams. It's not entirely sure yet. It's the same with Lewis Holtby and a few other senior players. But obviously, if Williams leaves, and that, I think Rovers will be looking at bringing in another central defender. We've got Lenihan, Ayala, obviously Wharton. The issue with Wharton is not an exact timescale on when he's set to return. Obviously, with Achilles injuries, it's a considerable amount of time. So it'd be interesting to see how his rehabilitation goes. There is the potential that Rovers could be in the market for another centre back in the summer, but again, it sort of depends on A, development of some players, and B, what they end up deciding to do with Derek Williams.
Yeah, thanks. I do appreciate that's how long's a bit of a piece of string question. Wharton is an interesting one because, like you say, I think he's changed a lot of our minds from what we've seen when he come back in this season. And if he hadn't got injured, I think him and Lenihan probably would have been first choice throughout. But we've seen with Dak that these injuries do take time to recover, and even if he is fit, it's going to take him time to get back up to speed. Right, did you want to jump in there, Ryan? You said you had a couple of comments.
Yeah, my mate Neil, who's watching the stream, who's a Man City fan, has sent me a text, which is interesting. So Taylor Harwood-Bellis is a really decent player already. A lot of City fans I know would have rather have sold Eric Garcia to Barcelona and kept Harwood-Bellis as the fourth centre-back whilst Ake's injured. He needs to play and can't believe he was loaned without some guarantee of playing time. So really, really high rating there from my mate Neil, who's a Man City fan.
Yeah, that's great. Really good review there, etc. And I'm just getting sort of like a little bit of breaking news through, and we've got a little bit of a transfer that we're going to sort of do now from Rovers Chat. So Jacob, you've been fantastic. You've served a purpose. You've been really sort of great for us, but we appreciate your time. But we have got someone else that we're going to substitute you in for. It's not wholesale Tony Mowbray for substitutes. We're just going for one at this time. So on behalf of us all, you're
making an upgrade, believe me.
Okay, well, thanks for your time, Jacob. We appreciate that, and thanks for the great work you do. We're really lucky to have your sort of knowledge and news out there for Rovers fans.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. And honestly, the work that you do is brilliant. Rovers are lucky to have you about and delivering the stuff that you do. Honestly, it's exceptional, all the work. So have fun. Say hello to Rich for me as well. See you in a bit.
Thanks, Jacob. See ya.
See you later. Cheers.
Right, so just bear with us a minute. We're just making.
Seamless.
And here it is, seamless. Here's our new signing, Rich Sharp. Rich, welcome. Thanks very much for joining us.
No bother at all. Can you hear me and see me?
We can hear you and see you fantastically. Thanks. So, how's today been for you? Was it what you expected? Anything else?
Yes, in terms of incomings, I think it's always nice when you know stuff is going to happen and it happens. Obviously, we had the surprise of the last deadline day. I think we were all set up for Douglas, Tribal and Pears coming in, and then we got the special surprise of Harvey Elliott. I think this one again was pretty much nailed on, that they were going to get Pickering and Harwood-Bellis. It was just a case of when they'd get done. I did think Morad would have left of the under-23s. Thought Jack Vale might get a move. Thought Lewis Thompson might get a move. They're still trying with McGlaw, so that's the one thing that we might be waiting on, I think, for till the deadline. I think what's made it difficult with a few of the under-23s is the National League situation, and the fact that their season could be curtailed pretty quickly. I know obviously Hartlepool wanted McGlaw back. There was another team in the National League that wanted him back. There's been a bit less interest in the EFL to try and get him in there, so that's probably complicated things a bit there. But yeah, as for the incomings, I think the fact they went to 5 loans pretty much ruled out the chance of anything else. That a bit of a surprise, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So with McGlaw, then, has there been any clubs mentioned? Are we talking League Two here?
Yeah, I've heard Port Vale, I think, were linked, but they've gone with some, I don't know where he was from, somebody else. So I think they're literally just ringing round and seeing if anybody needs one or what, because I think there's a situation now with obviously the 2 lads coming in. You've got Ayala coming back. I don't think Williams is as severe as, I don't think he's as ruled out for the season as he was a couple of weeks ago. So things are probably a bit better on the defensive front. And obviously they've let Grayson go, so McGlaw could play for the 23s, but I think he's beyond that now. He needs to play. So I think they're just trying to see what's out there for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I've said it on this transfer talk show before, and I know it was only a pre-season friendly at the start of the year, but I thought McGlaw did really well against Leicester, and I do think he offers something a little bit different than some of our centre halves with his raw pace. We've just had a number of new people join us, so thanks very much for people joining us. Hopefully you've come from the under-23 games and you've enjoyed that. As you'll see, Rich is with us. He's going to be with us for the next 40 minutes or so. So if you've got any questions, comments, do put them into the chat function, and we'll pick those up as we go along. Rich, just going to focus a bit more on one of the new signings today in Harry Pickering. I know you used to have the pleasure of reporting on Crewe. I don't think Pickering was as much around the first team at that time, but what do you know about him, and what do you think he's going to bring?
Yeah, so he was playing. I think I saw him play for against Sheffield United in the FA Youth Cup, and he was just coming through the under-23s. He was the best player of that age group that was coming through. I used to think, well, from the bit I watched him, I thought he was too good to be a left back. I thought he was definitely going to come through as a central midfielder. But yeah, he's made his name as a left back for Crewe. And the people I respect there and still talk to now tell me he's going to the Premier League. So I think this is a deal that Rovers just had to do. They were in a fortunate position, I think, which is why they've moved in this window, is because they were one of the few that had a bit of money about to go and get him. I think if they left it to the summer, they always left themselves vulnerable that somebody else could jump in and get him. Because while there's only Rovers that have bid for him in this window, everybody's looking at him because everybody who uses these analysis websites and anything is just numbers are just mind-boggling. So the interest was only going to go up, and I think Rovers seized their opportunity. And when I was told on Saturday night about the loan back deal, I think that was the one that really got it over the line. I think Crewe lost Perry NG to Cardiff, who was the right back, and I think they didn't want to let Pickering go without having this loan back option. So I think that was really the one to seal the deal. So he'll come to Rovers on a 4-year deal. He's under contract till 2025. So he's a Rovers player. But yeah, we'll be going back to Crewe to continue his development. And I think when you get somebody from Crewe, they've been through the stage of the career where they weren't ready. Crewe will throw them in when they're not ready. I know people have said this about like Nyambi and John Buckley probably were thrown in when they weren't ready. And whereas Rovers will take them out and phase other players in, Crewe will stick with them through the tough times that they've had. And Pickering's obviously had that. He only turned 22 in the last month or end of December, and he's 2 games away from 150 appearances, which you talk about the players, somebody like McLaw, who's 22, he's played 2 senior games for Rovers. So that's the difference that you're getting. And yeah, people I respect and have watched him for all of those games tell me he's going to the Premier League, and I've got no reason to doubt him.
Yeah, no, so it's really, really exciting. Just focusing then on Pickering and the future then. So he's potentially going to be our left back for the future. We've got him on a 4.5 year deal. Potentially, if we don't make the Premier League, he'll get sold on. We've also at the moment got Bell and Douglas on the books, so I can understand why we've let him go back on loan. Do you think that we'll see Bell go in the summer? But what about Douglas? Is there potential that he might stay on because he'll be a free contract?
Douglas is a really interesting one because he's gone from, in the space of about 3 weeks, from Rovers fans suggesting sending him back to Leeds to now everybody's saying, can we get him on a free in the summer? So that's just the way the form goes, really. I think there could have been a possibility earlier in the window that Douglas could have gone back, Pickering could have come in, but then obviously we had this issue with the loan thing with going back to Crewe. So I think in the end it's worked out well for Rovers. Douglas is an expensive loan with what they're paying for him and what he's on. He had a lot of interest in the summer. I know Watford were very keen on him. So Rovers had to they won the race to get him really in the summer. So I think he'll probably get to the summer and assess his options and see where he is. But I think Pickering really is coming to play. So I expect Amari, who's had a good go in that 18-19 season, really phased Williams out and played Bell. And I think the fact that they brought Cunningham in the summer before last, they brought Douglas in, I think Bell will probably see that his chance at Rovers may well have gone now, and will probably be looking for something himself when it comes round to the summer. But it will be an interesting summer because, like you said, there's a lot of players out of contract at Rovers.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure we'll come on to the contract questions in due course. Just one more from me, picking up on the viewers' comments. There's one from Simon Child, if you can bring that right. So obviously the Pickering thing sort of, you questioned him a couple of weeks ago that he denied the interest, etc. How did he deny the interest? Did you take it at face value, or do you think it's becoming a lot more coy now?
It was a very weird one because obviously I know people at Crewe, so I didn't really check it out with Rovers. That once I saw the Pickering thing, I checked it out and was told from Crewe. The Rovers end was obviously a bit more playing it down, and then they said that the finances probably weren't going to be right. And I think at the time that was going to be the case. The way I asked the question to Mowbray, I didn't need him to validate the interest. I didn't say, were you interested in Harry Pickering? Because I knew they were interested in Harry Pickering. So the question was, will you go back for Harry Pickering? And that's when we got the response was, we don't really need a left back. I think part of that was, by that point, they'd committed to Barry Douglas for the rest of the season. So I think he did need to. It was a bit of a show of faith, I think. But Rovers never really went away from getting Pickering in. It was just whether the deal could tie up in this window. It's funny, like Mowbray's never one to over elaborate. He gives you a bit on transfers. He'll talk in more general terms. I think he's said a few times they're close to things and then they drift away. But yeah, I think because I knew what the situation was, I didn't really take it as any slight on anything, because I knew they were still in for him, and he obviously had his reasons. He asked him the question, you have to report what he says. But yeah, I think he was a bit miffed that he felt things were coming out into the public, and that's not like Rovers certainly don't want to work that way. They don't like public negotiations. Whether he was aware that Dave Artell, the Crewe boss, had come out and confirmed Rovers' interest, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's all worked out, and I'm sure when we speak to him on whenever we do this week, it'll be full of praise for him.
Absolutely. We're just, I suppose, waiting for the gifts of him dunking his biscuit in his tea, smiling at the business he's done. Ryan, do you want to take over some viewers' questions?
Yeah, we've had quite a range here, Rich. So the first one that came in a while back from Warren Selby, I think certainly some of the live streams and things that we've done this season, there has been some frustration in the fan base because it feels like we've got a really good squad now, and the last two transfer windows in particular have felt really solid. So with these signings in January, you know, you're a Rovers fan as well, Rich. What are you hoping and expecting from Rovers come the end of the season?
Yeah, I was writing a piece earlier. I'll put it out tomorrow. But basically, everything's there. The tools are there. I think there'll be a lot of clubs will be looking on with envy at what Rovers have done in these two windows. They needed centre backs, and they've gone and got the two best that were available. You've seen Preston have brought in Vandenberg from Liverpool and Liam Lindsay, both on loans. The two that Rovers have got are a step above that. And even in the deadline day that went before, I think a lot of clubs will have looked at Rovers' window and been very impressed. I thought Tribal on paper was a particularly good sign. I thought he was going to nail down that place in front of the back four. I thought that was the one thing that, with the way that Mowbray was going with building from the back, he was going to be the position. It's probably not quite worked out as they'd have wanted, but I think as a squad, man for man, the recruitment and Venkes have delivered everything that Mowbray could want. I know everybody will say, "Oh, well, what happens if Armstrong goes down injured?" But like they've got the attackers, they've got Dak back, they've obviously brought Brereton and Gallagher in previous windows. So I think there's a feeling of there's a chasing pack now, isn't there, of Middlesbrough, Stoke, Bristol City, Rovers, Preston. Are you only really playing for one place with with Bournemouth? Sorry, I'm not sure, but I think of the chasing pack, Rovers certainly look the best equipped. They've got 32 points from the last 20 games. There's 20 games to go. Another 32 would take them to 71. I think they'll need more than that, but everything seems to be there on paper, really. And even with the injuries, I think that's the thing that has obviously cost them with the defensive injuries in the past. But getting defensive injury now, and in a couple of weeks you'll have Ayala as fourth choice centre back. So I think you've eliminated those injuries and possible areas where you could have a few excuses with probably what they've had in the early part of the season.
And it's a model which can work next season. You know, if we don't make the top 6 this season, you know, there's other Premier League loans, other deals that we can do next summer just to complement the stuff we've got. So I think it's great. I think this season and next will look good.
No, I agree.
Next one, Cameron Hannon. Any news on Ryan Amby, new contract? And we might as well throw JRC and Rothwell into the mix.
Yeah. So I think, I know there's these options, but I don't see the point in options with these players. Rovers need to get them nailed down. I asked about Rothwell last week because it was his 100th game. Mowbray waxed lyrical about him. I think there's not much reason to fear that they won't get them done based upon finance, as in there is room to go with them, which is the one with Dak. I was always confident that Dak would get done because Dak came from Gillingham, is on a fairly low wage, signed for one amount. Then it went up when he signed the contract after the League One promotion year, and he'd not had another contract after that. So there was always room to shove him up the hierarchy. The ones for me that would be the most concerning would be Armstrong. He's out of contract in 20, so he's got 18 months left with this window. He'll be at least here till the summer. And he took a pay cut to come to Rovers. After that season he had at Coventry, Newcastle gave him a 4 or 5 year deal on very, very good money, which he had to take less to sign for Rovers. And with the ceiling that they're working to, there's not much wiggle room there. So I do think they will get those done. How pressing the club think they are, I think it's about protecting assets, and obviously Armstrong is the biggest asset with the value that he's worth. So now I've gone round the houses here. There's nothing to say that anything's imminent on that front, but I've had nothing to suggest that Rovers are concerned about those contracts. And obviously the same with JRC, Dole, and a few of the young ones. Like you said, with the wages that they're on now, if it comes down to money, there's room to work with those. And obviously Nyambi's building a reputation for himself, and he sticks out like a sore thumb when you look at the players that are out of contract in the Championship this summer. So clubs won't be daft. They'll be looking at him, and I'm sure they'll be speaking to his agents and whatnot. But Mowbray said he didn't foresee any issues with it. So you'd like to think Rovers are in control. But I have asked the question that I think to come out and say something to the fans publicly rather than, because fans like academy graduates, they like Ryan Nairnby, they want him to stay. So I do think somebody coming out and say something would certainly help on that front.
Yeah. I'm a bit more relaxed on Nyambi. I also love him as a player and want him to stay, but I think with the emergence of JRC this season and the fact he can play there and play there well, it probably helps Mowbray and the club out a little bit. We don't have to go chasing Nyambi as much. We can just sit and hopefully that one gets done. Joe Harvey, who is a contributor on our channel, lots of talk about the under-23s today, Rich, with the game they've played and obviously some that have gone out on loan. But 𝐂𝐎𝐃𝐂𝐓, an interesting one. Can't get game time for the 23s or even a bench spot. What's the story there? Any loan move away?
Not aware of anything. I think there's been the general thing that they've just shared the game time between Eastham and 𝐂𝐿𝐃𝐂𝐓. I think they played 13 games now this season. If it's not 7-6 one way or 8-5 at most to Eastham and 𝐂𝐿𝐃𝐂𝐓. When he was brought in at the time, I know there was a lot of thinking he was going to come as the second choice because he was quite highly rated. Rovers shot that down pretty quickly and said that he was one that they just saw as available at a good price and with some growth in him, and that's why they brought Pears in. So I think for now that the case will be that it'll just be 𝐂𝐿𝐃𝐂𝐓 and Eastham for the rest of the season competing for the 23s. Obviously, Joe Hilton's gone out on loan. The Fisher seems to be doing really well at MK Dons. Fair play to him having gone there. He seems to have nailed that spot down as the number one there. So yeah, I think it's just a case of sharing the game time as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. And just a final one, Jonathan, for Rich here. I saw Warren Selby put a similar comment a while ago, but Anthony Braithwaite has said, could you see Harvey Elliott being loaned back to us next year if we don't go up this season? Have you got any kind of sniffs or anything about Harvey Elliott in next season?
Well, Liverpool are impressed with him. and the job that Rovers are doing. I know their loan managers are at Rovers quite a bit, talking through his progress. I think it was a bit of a surprise that he was loaned out this year. I think Liverpool expected him, to just stay around, but he's still only going to be like 18 in the summer when it comes round to again. So you'd think if he was going to get loaned to the Championship, then, and if Rovers are still in the Championship, we've got to say that now, that they will be coming round again. But a bit like, has he outgrown it? Has he shown that he can do it, kind of thing? What would he get from another season? If Rovers are in the Championship, what would he get from another season? I think that'll be the main reason. But yeah, everybody's certainly happy with the way that the loan spell's going. I don't think there's any concerns about that, and I don't think Liverpool put a recall clause in. From what I'm led to believe, so there was never any chance that he could have gone back in January. So when he signed up for the season, he was here for the season.
Great. That's it, Jonathan, for now. There's plenty streaming in thick and fast.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So on the subject of contracts, Rich, but a slightly different way, and I've been on record in saying this, that once we saw Chapman move to Shrewsbury at New Year's Eve or the start of January, that I didn't think we'd see him in a Rovers shirt again. Admittedly, really rave reviews from what I've seen of the 2-3 games that he's played for Shrewsbury. Match winner at Peterborough against Peterborough on Saturday, 2 goals. Seems to be playing more in a free role. Is he playing himself for a new contract, or do you think?
Yeah, well, I'd have liked to have seen him go out on loan earlier. Obviously, I think in the summer, without the emergence of Dolan, I think he was probably earmarked for the role that Dolan's had, and I think Dolan's probably just gazumped him to that role. I think if they could have got him out in the January of last year or before, but I think apart from, I know Kilmarnock were after him, whether that was last January or the summer, or they've looked at him, but there's not been like a wealth of interest, I don't think. But yeah, they love him at Shrewsbury already, and you can see why. Like, he was as soon as he came on at Rovers, he was a fan's favourite, and I think it's just about that consistency. I think seeing him what he did against Peterborough the other day is no surprise whatsoever. It's just, if he's got 20 odd games left, can he do it? And yeah, where will Rovers look with him? But certainly, I think it was a big move for him because, like you said, coming into the last 6 months of his contract with Rovers, if this loan hadn't worked out, then you don't know where it'd have gone. But you'd like to think that he'll come back and he'll be knocking on the door for at least Rovers to think about the option of offering him another one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was hoping this would happen, actually, that we would have some breaking news that we could interrupt the flow of questions for. Firstly, on the sort of Championship, and with our glass half full option on that, we still think we can make the playoffs. It looks like QPR have taken the lead at Watford in the 90th minute, so that's a good one. And Rich, you may have had notifications on your phone as well, but Jacobs just broke the news, or he's hearing that Rochdale are hopeful of securing a loan move for Jack Vale before the end of the window.
Could well be. Not sure. I know earlier that they were hoping to get Vale out on loan, and I was surprised to see him as anybody when his name was down on the starting lineup.
Yeah, equally. Like you, when his name was on there, we was also surprised as well. Just going back to the Chapman and the Shrewsbury thing. Shrewsbury again, we mentioned at the weekend with Elliot Bennett. Did much happen there, or was it just sort of transfer talk?
From a Shrewsbury end, they were convinced it was happening. They were going really big on it. I was told on Saturday afternoon that they were interested, just off somebody at the game. But yeah, Rovers haven't had anything. He lives around there. He's Shropshire based. He's out of contract in the summer, but whether they revisit it, but unless Shrewsbury have got some investment, you think Bennett would be wanting better than Shrewsbury, unless they're going to give it a real go. And obviously they brought Chapman in on loan in this window. But yeah, I was weighing it up basically because the Shrewsbury people had convinced me that, that it was happening. But yeah, speaking to Rovers, I don't think that ever really got off the ground, particularly for this window anyway. But obviously, he is a free agent when it comes round to the summer.
Yeah, I was interested by that as well, thinking that he must be one of the better earners at Rovers. And I know they've got Steve Cockerell in, who's probably a serial get-out of League One manager. Do you think Benno will stay, or is that a decision for later?
Yeah, well, I think there's a few, and you talk about the out-of-contract players, everybody talks about like Nyambe and Rothwell and JRC. You've then got quite a lot of experience in Holtby, Williams, Johnson, Bennett, which I think a lot of them will see where we are in the summer from their point of view as well, as much as Rovers. Because I think it'll be a case with a lot of clubs, in that they'll be looking at looking at what's out there. So yeah, I think that will go down to the summer and where he sees himself and where Rovers see himself. I think these are players who've been at the club quite a long time, so I think Mowbray will handle that in the way that we expect him to.
Yeah, great. Any more viewer questions, Ryan?
Yeah, a couple. So Matthias BRFC, I'm just conscious that we've had people that have joined us after the under-23s game, so maybe missed Jacob's view on this. So Rich, this is one for you. Will Harwood BELLIS be part of a back three with Lenihan and Branthwaite? Sorry if it's been asked. It has been asked, but we've doubled the viewers since the end of the game. What are you hearing out of the club on that one, Rich?
Mowbray's talked about it before, but I mean, I don't think this season they've had three centre-backs fit at the same time. The only thing I would say with the back three is the struggling as it is to fit in the attacking players. So unless you go in a box, in midfield how do you get Dak, Elliott, Brereton, Travis, Armstrong all into a side? And I'm not sure, having never been sold on Nyambe as a wing back. I think he's better coming from that deeper position than starting higher up the pitch. So it is an option, and Mowbray will speak about it, I'm sure, and say that it is an option. And you've got Branthwaite, who's comfortable on the left side, which I think is an important thing as well. And Harwood BELLIS has played in a back three for Man City and looks pretty comfortable playing on that wider role. But Branthwaite has come in to compete with Lenihan and Branthwaite, rather than they've brought him in because they want to play three at the back. If that means, like, they always wanted two centre backs. And that's what they've got. So the option is there, but it is not come because Mowbray sees a formation change as the way forward.
Yeah. And then just the other question here from Ross Gibson. So Rich, you will have seen it on social media. We've certainly had it on some of our live streams and things as well. Mowbray has at times been under fire this season and has had his criticism. So with everything we've said about the squad and how good it feels now, are the owners expecting promotion this season with the way they back the manager, or are they open-minded about it being more next season? So
no, I think when Mowbray signed, when he signed the new deal, or was it? No, it's when they in the League One season. I think the expectation was get out of League One, stabilise, try and push for the top half, and this year was going to be the top six push. So Mowbray's, I think he's used the words, this season is a failure if they don't reach the top six. So he's been the one that's been driving the expectation, and it's whether fans and the owners will judge him off his own expectations. Sorry, one sec.
We got some breaking news.
No, I was just checking out the Vale thing. Let's tweet that one sec.
That's what we want, Rich. We want this disruption.
Here's what Rich is tweeting right now. There you go.
Oh no, I've just
Haven's been posting this all day, so we can tweet it now.
Sorry, what was the question again? It's been a long day.
It was just about so we had a comment from Ross Gibson.
Oh, so the owners, yeah. So I think if you're judging Mowbray on the expectations, if they don't finish in the top six, it's then where do they finish? I thought they'd finish in the top eight. I think anything below that would be disappointing. But then it's all on your own expectation. I think the owners would expect them, with the investment that they've had, to be at the very least competing for the top 6. And if they're not in the top 6 this year, it's promotion the year up, particularly because Dax signed up on a new contract. You're going to start losing these players. And I think while Mowbray has been backed in the transfer market as well, I think the biggest thing is he's not sold a player. Raya went with his blessing. And that is the only 7-figure fee they've had since Mowbray's been manager. So at some point, not necessarily that the owners would be looking to sell one, but just the natural progression of the squad will see players moving on. So I think it is a big final 20 games really to try and push for that top 6. Because it's the thing as well, it's, you know, that you could finish 3rd and not go up. You could finish 6th and go up. So, you know, if you finish in the playoffs and don't go up, is it any different to finishing 7th and not going up? So it's how you view, you know, going up really. So that it all comes down to judgment calls really, and Mowbray himself will know where things are. He's built the expectation. He's the one who's talked about the top 6 more than anything. I think it got to a point with me really, you know, where everything's about the top 6 and you win, and it's how many points off the playoffs so you are, and then you have a bad run, it's we're 10 points off the playoffs or whatever. I think at the minute it's just trying to build the points up and stay in contention for as long as you can. But the manager certainly can't, and he won't grumble about the backing that he's had from the owners. I think he himself talked about a situation where it could be Bradley Johnson at centre half until somebody comes back injured, and then he's obviously spoken to the owners, and after the Birmingham game came out and said they'll sanction 2 centre halves, which they've got, and since then they've also got Pickering. So I certainly don't think he can have any complaints about the backing that he's had.
I think for me, if we can avoid falling off a cliff like we did in the 14-15 season, you know, we didn't make the playoffs and then it was just that complete downward spiral. I think if we can go into next season strong, if we don't make the playoffs, that's the thing that I really want to see. And that's why these contracts and getting those signed and just making that link through to next season for me is really critical. Back to you, Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan Rich. So QPR have beat Watford 2-1 tonight, last minute goal from Adoma, our friend Charlie Austin as well scoring. They're our next opponents this weekend, Rich. Probably one of the most unpredictable teams in the Championship. What sort of game do you think that presents for us? I appreciate we're still a few days away from it. Is it a great chance to go 3 wins on the spin?
Yeah, I think Rovers won 4 of 5 against QPR. I know they lost their last season 4-2, but they won away the year before, and they've won the 3 home games against them. And to be fair, the kind of team that Rovers do well against. You know, they'll come and have a go at home, and if it is an open game, obviously that tends to play into Rovers' hands. So, and I think away from home they've been pretty good. So I can't see any reason why Rovers won't go there and see that as a real opportunity, as they won't this run of games that they're having. They've got coming up really of the teams that they're playing. They'll probably sense this is a real chance to kick on after obviously had a great November, probably a real drop in December. And while they've not been blowing sides away, they've found a way to negotiate an unbeaten January and heading into February after a good window. Probably looking up to what's going to come.
Yeah, do you think we'll see HARWOOD BELLIS feature?
I mean, they've got a full week of training. He's trained today, so it'll certainly be in contention. Obviously, McGlaw was on the bench as the defensive cover at the weekend, so he'll certainly be involved. But I think after they conceded 1 in 3 with Lenihan and Branthwaite, so as long as they're both okay, I can't see any reason, particularly the whole back 5, really to change. It's just the midfield and the forward areas at the minute, just the makeup of that is probably just the main decisions that they're going to have for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke, did
just
you
on
want
that?
to
Yeah,
on that?
no, I can chip in there. It's probably a natural point to just ask about Branthwaite really, Rich. How would you sort of say his impact's been, and certainly the impact on Lenihan? We've all seen some improved performances there. Do you think it's perhaps doing Lenihan good having a younger person next to him rather than, maybe some of the earlier performances with Viola?
Yeah, I think those performances when Mulgrew first went out of this team, it was at QPR actually where they won. Did they win 4 in 6 at the end of the 18-19 season? That was when I saw Lenihan really come on. You could hear him just becoming more vocal and a leader, and I think he does relish that. I think he's been very good the last couple of games. And yeah, Branthwaite, I think it just seems like somebody who's not flustered. For a young lad, you'd look at him and you'd think, oh, young lad starting in the Championship, will he be phased? Will he find it difficult to come to terms with? And he's slotted straight in. I thought he wobbled after the incident against Middlesbrough. I thought that was the first time you could see that was a bit of inexperience in him, that he looked to be affected by that. But got to half time, and I thought second half there he was very good. And the balance that he brings, being able to play on that left side, I think he's slotted him really well. And the interception he made the other day on that Mpanzu when he got into the box and he just took the ball off him, and he moves really well. He's a good size, and I think when Rovers got the blessing to bring players in, like I said, the two in HARWOOD, BELLIS and Branthwaite were the two, I think, and to be able to bring both of them in, I think it's very, very solid recruitment, and he's hardly put a foot wrong since he's come in.
I think it's a fair point. I think even Neil Warnock perhaps forgot how young Branthwaite was at the end of that game against Middlesbrough. So certainly towers above, doesn't he? As a stalwart in our central defence, and I think he's been a great asset.
And I know, like, Mowbray always says about the character now, like, nice lads, like he is a great lad, and everything I hear about Harry Pickering he is a tremendous character. And I think it said a lot for Pickering as well that he played the other day against Ipswich. He'd missed 2 games with a back spasm, and I think if he needed any get out not to play at the weekend, he could have easily felt his back and said it was sore. But no, he was out there playing, captain the side, steady performance. So I think that shows a lot about the player that Rovers are getting in him.
Back to you, Jonathan. Or have you got any questions, Ryan?
There's a couple that's come in. If you want to bring up the first one, Ron, from you have to, and forgive my pronunciation, from Gilly Sadek. Question, Rich, about the pitch, about if you know anything more what about happening with that, and then an interesting one also about with all of the injuries. Can we not be doing more with recover right? I don't think you'll be able to answer the latter, yes. But if you've got anything on the format, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because I think you only have to watch the Championship. I mean, Derby as well. They played Bristol City the other night. I know Bristol City were playing hell up about the pitch there, and Rovers aren't alone. I think it didn't help, obviously, playing the Doncaster game. The weather there and training on it probably didn't help with the weather that happened there. And Derby have had that same issue as well, that they've not been able to train on the training ground. So they've used the pitch with the undersoil heating. Got to EWOOD the other day. I thought the pitch looked fine. Seemed to be playing all right in the warm up, and it just cuts up pretty easily. But I think that's just the way of the world. They did look to play a bit differently. I think Brereton probably played more of a 4-4-2, and they did look to go that bit longer. So I don't think anything's going to change, in that they're not going to relay the pitch or anything before the season's out. So probably for the next few weeks they're going to have to lump it and find a way. I know Mowbray mentioned it the other day. He said that Man City couldn't play Man City football on that pitch, but the pitch is the pitch, and even away from home, they're probably going to encounter. So, I mean, I thought the Middlesbrough pitch looked fine, but Warnock was moaning about that, saying the players are slipping all over the place, and obviously Tavernier went down injured. So they're not alone in that. And I think it's money. It's a lot of money to do everything with the pitch at a time where everybody's asking for more new signings, asking for new contracts. I think Mowbray said that he'd want the new pitch over new players, but it's easier to say that than when it comes down to it, and they turn around in the summer and say, well, that's it. You weren't really having the pitch over signing anybody. So there's only so much money about and only so much that they can do. And I think when I was pleased that Trevor, the groundsman, came out and said something after the postponement, because I think they copped a bit of flack, the ground staff, and there isn't a great deal that they can do. They're working with the pitch that they've got. I'm sure they'd be wanting a new pitch more than anybody. So that's the pitch is the pitch, and I think they're just going to have to get on with it and wait to see what the summer is. The turnaround meant it was difficult to sort. I know Stoke changed their pitch during the first lockdown after March. Probably had a bit of foresight more than most. I think they were the only one in the Championship to do that. So maybe that was a missed opportunity, but nobody was to know that was going to be the case.
Yeah. I can't imagine you planned on coming on and discussing pitches on transfer deadline today, but thanks for that anyway, mate. Another question that popped up from Simon Child, and specifically in relation to Lewis Holtby, whether you think he'll stay or return to Germany at the end of the season. I know there's been quite a bit publicised about how his wife and child are still in Germany at the moment.
Over here now.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah. I think that was when did he miss the game? Was that October, November? I think they've been back since then. But yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously, he had real ties to Hamburg, so I don't know and what options are out there really for him. Whether he's done enough to forge an impact, in English football. I think on his day, he's proven to be more than Championship qualities, and other that Rovers just need to keep fit and get a run in the side, because if you look at his stats, it seems to be a bit stop-start. So he'll come into the mix at the end of the season, I think, to see where they all are with the contracts, what he wants to do as much as anything. He's a very conscientious lad, and I know he'll certainly give time to any decision that he makes. But I think Rovers probably will look to offer him something, because I do think when he's on his game and playing well, he is a real force to be reckoned with. They just need to try and keep him fit for a sustained period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, there's been times this season when he started and dictated games like at Preston, but equally Saturday I thought he made a difference. Like big quick thinking from just setting up the goal. So yeah. Question from Gary Smith has come in. What's the injury to Davenport? Do we have much insight about?
Yeah, he tweaked his hamstring, 7 to 10 days. So I think he might have a chance for this weekend. But if not, he should be back for Preston. Tribal was a back spasm, so should be back. Johnson's the most long term. And we'll probably miss a decent chunk of this month, I'd imagine.
Yeah. And just one more question for you, Rich. There are plenty of us, but I'm just mindful of your time, and you might need to go, and there might be some more breaking news where you can.
No. I'm fine.
Question from Mark Atherton. So Josh King, there's been a lot spoken about him today, looking like he'll end up at Everton, Fulham, or somewhere. What do you think will happen with the money from that? I appreciate it's difficult to know how quick we'll get it and how he'll be paid.
Yeah,
is that going to be running costs?
I think any money of stuff like that. I think the same with Raya. If when he goes or any sell-ons or anything like that, I think it's money that you don't budget for. So it certainly wouldn't be added to any transfer funds. There's the club always needs money, so it certainly won't be. Won't go unused, but yeah, I don't think it'll be dependent on any budget or anything like that. They've tended to agree budgets just based on the owners and what they're agreeing to. So no, I don't think it'll have any impact on anything like that. But it's all good money that'll certainly not go amiss.
Yeah, absolutely. There's obviously been the worry that he was going to stay and run down his contract, and we'd have got nothing. So anything is a.
I don't think he was somebody that they sold and they thought in a few years they'd be relying on his sell-on clause because he left in the way that he did. And yeah, it's just the way of the world that it happens to be there, and they'll make a few quid, and there'll be other things that they'll lose money out on. It's just the way that the market works, really.
Yeah. Corey Evans, what's the question from Gareth Devlin's come in? Will he fit in Tony Mowbray's plans this season? So I know rumours not from this transfer window, but from perhaps the one before, going back to Stoke. His contract's up as well.
Yeah, I know Stoke were keen. I think there was never a chance in this window because of his injury situation. Obviously, the Michael O'Neill link is obvious, but it was it this might have even been last January, maybe. I think there was definitely been interest from Stoke, and he falls into that category again. Corey will be 30, experienced player. Will they look at his situation that he's been at Rovers for 7 years and think that it's time for a change? Possibly. Like I said, Rovers have got so many options in that midfield area, but then it gets to the summer, and a lot of them will dry up. There's down and out of contract Johnson, Evans, obviously Tribal's on loan. There's a lot in that mix to be factored in, but Corey won't be without interest because he's proven at championship level. He's got international credentials. He's had a good career. He's, like I say, it's just the fitness and whether he sees that a change might be good for him. But yeah, Stoke's certainly keen on Corey. Great.
Luke, did you have a question you wanted to pose, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably nothing in this, but it's just well worth saying given the news that we've heard today on Danny Graham. I know we've spoke about a lot on our streams about perhaps not having a plan B, and when the pitch has been cutting up the way it has, we haven't had the option to lump it up to a Danny Graham style striker. Do you think there's anything possible in the short term of seeing Danny Graham come back on maybe a pay as you play or something similar?
No, but I'll be interested to see where he goes. And also for that reason, I was quite surprised with the way that they did go that bit more direct. They didn't start Gallagher. I think looking the way that they played on Saturday, I think it didn't really suit Brereton that he's pretty good at holding the ball up, but they were going a bit too long. Like normally they just clip balls down the line into his chest that he can bring down and hold off. Whereas I think they were looking a bit, towards getting flick-ons and things. So, and I think giving Sam that role in the team would probably be, help bring the best out of him. If you say to him that, right, you're the number 9 or we're going to work off you, that might help bring the best out of him because, Nathan Jones was playing hell up about the fact that Gallagher had come off the bench against him and scored in the 2 previous games and made it. So he's scored 4 and got an assist off the bench. I think he just maybe a defined role in the side might help bring the best out of Sam. But no, I think throughout all of this, they've always been, like even the summer, they were never looking at strikers. Elliott and Dolan really were the bonus balls and the attacking thing. I think they probably looked at Sam, Brereton, Armstrong, Dak, and thought they're the ones that are going to have to get us up. It's just not worked for Danny. And obviously, like you say, he will be able to go and apply the free trade, free agent list and see what's out there for him. But no, I don't think a move back to Rovers will be on the cards.
It's a good point on Gallagher. Actually, I see him having quite a pivotal role in the game against Preston under floodlights. If the pitch is the way it is, he had a good game last time we played him. So it's I'd like to see him do well. To be honest, there's a lot of talk about his transfer fee and perhaps not living up to it. So it'd be nice to see him go on.
Particularly if they are going to play that bit more direct. I think it'd certainly suit him more than Ben. Yeah, it looks like Fulham, by the way, for Josh King. Really weird how he's become like this. The story of the deadline day.
I had a comment from Cameron saying that he's gone to Fulham for £8 million, which is, if that is the value, that value just gone up by 3 or 4 million during the day.
Yeah, I've seen 8 million bandit, which I think for a kid who's a free agent in the summer, I mean, it's not.
That's just where the game's gone wrong, isn't it? The price of not getting relegated from the Premiership. You just spend stupid money at 10 o'clock on transfer deadline.
Exactly, and if he's wanting 120 grand a week, he's not. I mean, I know there's extenuating circumstances. I'm just looking here. His goals this year, he's got 2 against Oldham in the FA Cup and 1 against Crawley. Not scored in the Championship. Hardly played. Does seem a good move to get for somebody on the back of those. Stats.
Do we know the sell-on fee? Jacob had heard 20%, but we never.
Yeah, I think that's
really had it confirmed.
No, and I don't think Rovers ever will. Which is like when Mahoney went to the tribunal, because that went all the way. We got all the flipping it. They were detailing everything. If he played for England, played in the Premier League for this many times, there was all this money knocking about. And I don't think Rovers ever will comment, but I've certainly never had anybody ringing me up angry saying, "Why are you saying it's that?" So they'll probably let people think what they want, but yeah, I think that'd be fairly. And I'm not even really sure what, because it'll be a percentage of the profit. So you'll probably not know the fee that he went for. You'll not know the fee that they've got, because they'll both be undisclosed. So you'll be working off rough estimates on it all, really. But as long as there's some money coming in, I think we'll be satisfied with that.
Absolutely. Right, going to use that as a natural stopping point. So just before we break, we're going to have a short 5-6 minute break where we're going to air part of the Craig Conway podcast that we're releasing on the 8th of February. So we've had a number of people join us over the last part, continue to get really good viewers numbers here. So just a reminder to make sure that you subscribe to all of our channels, click the subscribe button on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. Rich does both of them, so you'll be in good company as well. Just a big thanks, Rich, for joining us as well. Appreciate all your knowledge, input. Appreciate everything you do for Rovers fans as a whole. It's great to have both you, Jacob, Andy Bays as well, to give us real good coverage, and really feel that we know where we're heading as a club with on and off the pitch stuff.
No bother. Right, we'll see what this last hour's got to bring. But yeah, it's surprising how good deadline days have been. These last two, I think. Probably a lot of Championship clubs who looked at Rovers and thought won't mind a bit of that. So yeah, you can blame me when Pickering doesn't turn out to be the player that I've told you that he is, but he's going to play for England and he'll be in the Premier League. So you can clip that up at 4 minutes past 10 as I'll leave you.
Cool, right. Thanks very much, and like I said to everyone else, thanks also to Luke, where we're transferring him out as well. No, nothing on his performance. He's a valid member of the club. Just going to freshen it up for the last hour. So thanks for your input as well, Luke.
Cheers. I might stick on yet, but I'll work that out over the break.
And then, like I say, everyone, stay on. We'll be back in 6 minutes. We'll be taking loads of viewer questions. We'll be able to discuss everything transfer related. So see you shortly.
You mentioned Paul Lambert there. I just want to ask you a quick question about him. Obviously came to the club to much fanfare after the sacking of Gary Boyer, who I think a lot of fans still hold in high regard, Gary, because of the work they did at the club. How much of a difference was it going from Gary Boyer, who seemed to be someone that would put his arm around a player, to Paul Lambert, who may have ruled with more of an iron fist, if that's fair to say?
Yeah, I think they're completely different managers. Obviously I get on really well with Gary Boyer. He obviously signed me. We got on really well. And I was gutted when he left. I felt, if I'm being honest, it was harsh. I didn't see it coming. So it was just one of the things. But then when the new manager comes in, as I say, completely different. But again, I liked Paul Lambert. I liked how he was almost kind of brutally honest at times. I liked that in him. But obviously it didn't last too long with one reason or another. It just, I think the relationship with him and the owners seemed to just go the wrong way. So he kind of cut it short.
How long before did you know that he was going to be leaving? Did you find out at the same time as us, or was it quite obvious quite early on that he was going to be leaving?
No, it was a massive shock. Like he basically came in the training ground one day and just told all the lads, and it was really strange and a bit of a shock. But I mean, listen, nothing in football surprises me, to be honest. I've seen that many things that anything can happen. As I said right at the start of the programme, we're talking is football, just literally anything can happen. So yes, it was a surprise, but in the whole football, there's nothing really that surprises me too much. Anything's possible.
But the man that did take the job is 𝐕𝐈𝐃𝐄𝐎. Ben Marshall spoke quite a bit about him as well on the Under the Cosh podcast. Said that he had a fridge of iron brew in his office, and he'd offer it people at about 9 o'clock in the morning. As a fellow Scot, is that something that you would have took him up on, or is iron brew not your drink?
I do like an iron brew, but maybe not 9 o'clock in the morning. It was. I think he was sponsored at some point with iron brew back in the day, and when he was up in Scotland, I think. But yeah, no, that is true. He did have a fridge full of it. But yeah, I mean, as a fellow Scot, he was a character, like, and as you say, I think you said at the start when you started speaking about him, I think it was probably never going to work from the time that he took over, because I think everybody had made up their mind anyway. The players certainly didn't. That wasn't the feeling of the players, but again, it was just one of the ones that just never seemed to work out.
I think coming from Burnley as well, obviously, well, not coming from Burnley, but having obviously got them promoted, and I think as fans, it was almost a kick in the teeth that they bring him in. How did you view him as a manager? Did you enjoy playing under him, or is it just a case of he was the manager and you did as you were told at the time?
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I don't know how much you know about 𝐕𝐈𝐃𝐄𝐎, whatever. He's a great guy. Like, honestly, he's like such a good guy. But again, it just never worked. I think we needed a little bit more in terms of, I wouldn't like to say coaching, but maybe just a few tactical things. It just didn't seem to work for him. We had periods where I thought it was going to turn around, but I think again, I'm sure we went our first 6 games without a win.
4-1 against Norwich, I think, in that first game.
Yeah. And it got off to a really bad start, and I think we just got stuck in a real rut. Like, I remember thinking back to that. We all lads used to have crisis meeting after crisis meeting. We're just trying to come up with how we could get out it. And again, I think we were just so deep in a rut that it was going to be really hard for us to get out.
Who do you think, obviously, you got the most player from?
I'd have to say Gary Bowyer, to be honest. I think just that last bit that he said, who got the most out of me, I think he was the one that played me in my strongest position. And he just let me get on with what I would do. And he used to really challenge me in terms of like assists. Like, he used to have like a competition between the players about who could have the most goals or who could have the most assists. And I think he just understood me as a player, probably more. And I mean, special mention to Tony Mowbray as well, because I think he's a really good manager and I really like him. I've got a lot of time for him, and I did have strong periods under him, but definitely more so Gary Bowyer. Hi, I'm Craig Conway, and you can check out my chat with the 1875 podcast on Monday, the 8th of February at 5 p.m.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the final part of the Rovers Chat Transfer Deadline Chat. As you'll see, as promised, we have made a new addition to our lineup. So, welcome, Alex. Great to have you on board for the final slog of the day.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's good to be on. See if anything happens at the last minute. I think I don't think there's going to be any incomings, it's safe to say, but obviously we'll see if Jack Vale gets his move to the lower leagues, which I think we all agree that he probably needs.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll watch that one with bated breath. I'll stick with you, Alex, to start with. What have you made of the 2 signings today?
I don't think there were surprises. I think that's safe to say. I think when I look at the 2 signings, I think the first signing, Harry Pickering, obviously it's been much made of throughout the window, whether it was happening or whether it wasn't happening. I think in the end, it was a deal that the club couldn't turn down. Just the price that we were going to pay for him, and the fact that you got the sense in this window, at least, that other clubs were sniffing around him, particularly for the summer, that if it was a player that Mowbray really wanted, then the club kind of had to act now to secure that player for the following season. So I think the biggest thing that I'm impressed with from the club today is looking like we're planning for the future. I think from my point of view with Rovers, oftentimes it looks like the club doesn't look beyond next week. So to actually see the club looking to next season already is a big bonus for me, and is not really something that I've seen since I've been supporting the club. And it shows that there is actually some brains or brain cells in use behind the scenes at the club, which is always a good thing. And then you go on to the young lad from Man City. He's got rave reviews. I've never seen him play, so I can't comment on how good he is or how good isn't he, or what position he'd be best in. All I can say is that it seems to me that Rovers is the place to be now for a lot of the best prospects in the Northwest. I think Rovers are now trusted to take care of these young players and develop them. So all of this bodes well, I think, for not only this season, but also for future windows as well, when we're looking to maybe bring in younger players from other clubs. We're never going to have the biggest budget in the division. So if we want to compete with, the Watfords, the Norwiches, we're going to have to get the loan market right, aren't we, in order to bridge that gap. So, yeah, all of that bodes well for us, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Some really, really pertinent points made there. Like you say, the off-field strategy, ideas, the whole ethos really behind the club in terms of the recruitment department, the manager, what value he plays on them are really, really good to see. So just before we go on, just to give everyone, all the viewers, just an idea of what we got planned for the next hour. Do keep sending your questions in. We'll take as many as we can. I can see there's a lot of love for Alex in the comments, so you can keep those coming in. Might not discuss them in too much details, but there you go. Alex, you're smiling. What can I say, Alex? You've probably been our best transfer of the day at this rate, if the comments keep coming on. What we're going to do is going to go through each of the signings. The signings we've made today. We're also going to have a look at Bramthwaite as well. Just have a look at a bit more detail, a bit more conversation about those as well, and what we think that they will add to the team, the squad over the forthcoming months. And we've got a few graphics information on those. And there we go. We're now going to tick to 45 minutes left of this transfer window. So if we see any more breaking news, we will bring it to you. Likely to be Jack Vale going out on loan, but we never know with Rovers. And as I said at the start of the show, if we can get a 5-minute warning, I'll be absolutely ecstatic. Okay, we're going to focus again, come back to Harry Pickering. He's the one that's sort of come in, the biggest signing probably that we've got. A big signing, but also a signing that we're not going to see for a little while. As I said earlier, sort of our equivalent of a soap opera, where was he coming, wasn't he not? Sheffield Wednesday interest sort of probably actually forced us to make the move. And as Rich said, if we didn't get him now, we run the risk of losing him in the summer, where other clubs had bigger budgets, etc. Just to add as well to this, if you've not seen it already, Andy Watson released a stat show on what Harry Pickering will bring to Rovers. That was released at 5 o'clock today on our YouTube channel. And we've also got tomorrow at 5 p.m. a very special episode of The Lowdown, where Ryan spoke to a Crewe Alexander fan to get their views on Pickering. So at that point, I'll come to you, Ryan, if you just want to give your take on the signing, etc., what you feel he can bring, and what you took from a little bit of sneak preview from the Crewe van, without going into too much detail to ruin it for the release tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything about this signing is just perfect. It's not coincidental the way that people are talking about this player. So from the Crewe end, all of the analytics stuff that Joe and Andy have done, the Crewe fan who I spoke to yesterday, Rich earlier on talking about Harry Pickering, I can't find a bad review about this player. So this is clearly someone with a great reputation and someone who is going places in the game. Like what Alex said, I really like the fact that this is pointing to a strategy for the club. So Mowbray has said this before. that he wants to sell players that have a sell-on value. You know, that's being realistic about the future of the club. There will be times where we do need to sell our players. And if Harry Pickering is as good as people are saying, there might be a time where he is sold for a big fee, which guarantees the sustainability of the club whilst we're still in the Football League. So great signing from that perspective as well. But, you know, first and foremost, and in terms of what we're going to be getting next season, the little soundbite that, you know, the Crew fan really left me with when I spoke to him yesterday. He said, if you think Andy Robertson, think Harry Pickering. This is a fullback that likes to get forward. He's high up the pitch. He's got great distribution. He can pass. He can take a set piece. And he will become a major attacking outlet for us. You know, when you think of the frustrations that we've had, particularly with Amari Bell, and the fact that he's just not got forward as much as we like, I think we're going to see the polar opposite with Harry Pickering next season. So he will be a major, major attacking output for our side next season. And if we have got Nyambi or JRC on the other fullback position, I expect fullbacks to be a big feature of our side next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right there, and not professing to know lots about him, but just from generally watching the EFL show on a Saturday night, he's one that regularly features for Crew, and you do see how high he plays up the field, and he gets a number of goals, assists, and from the graphic we've got on screen, I think that the key passes stat it's a really, really good one as well. Do you think it was the right decision to loan him back, Alex? I know we might not have had much choice in it, but what's your view on that?
I was slightly disappointed when I first learned that negotiating tactic, but I think as I've thought about it a bit more, I think the idea's kind of evolved in my head, and I've come around to the idea really. When you look at the fact that it probably facilitated the deal to be done, it probably, you know, broached the negotiations with Crew quite well. It probably motored the deal along a bit better. The fact that we've already got 2 left backs at the club, and the idea that you probably want him to have a full season at Crew, continuing his development rather than maybe coming to Rovers to compete against a Barry Douglas, which, you know, who is in great form at the minute, who I thought I saw made Championship Team of the Month in a particular statistical way of compiling that. So I'm not sure whether that's accurate or not, but I thought I did see that at some point today. So yeah, he'd be coming to compete against him, and I would rather him turn up first day of pre-season fresh, meet his new teammates and go from there, really. Have a full pre-season to kind of adapt to the squad and to the club, really, because obviously it's going to be a big change for him moving from Crew in League One to Rovers in the Championship. It's going to be different surroundings, different sort of pressure. So yeah, I think, you know, that giving him that extra time in League One, I don't think will do him any harm at all. And I think the only thing I would say on Pickering is that I'm going to start a campaign to make his nickname Ronnie. I think we should get all Rovers fans to refer to him as Ronnie from now on. And until I've got one of the Rovers chat fans to accidentally call him Ronnie, I want to succeeded. So yeah, that's my campaign between now and June, I think.
Well, yeah, seeing some of the way it was announced, and the sort of there was even some Rovers fan that renamed himself Blackburn Rovers and put himself as the Rovers logo, and used actually the clip of Ronnie Pickering earlier to sort of to lead people into believing that it was happening earlier. So I'm sure you won't struggle with that movement. Just seeing if we've got any Pickering related comments on it. Actually, just again, we like to break the news. So this is a screenshot of what we've seen Rochdale's channel push out. So a question from one of their fans: are we done yet, folks? And so the answer there is no. So that links into what we've heard earlier from Jacob about Jack Vale going on loan there. So rewind to the start of the day, and we all thought that Jack Vale was going to go out on loan. That then subsequently got changed when we saw he was announced in the under-23 team at Leicester early this evening and scored the opening goal in the 3-1 win. So looks like that's still going to happen, which from my perspective, I think it's a really good move. Have you seen much of Vale to be able to comment on Ryan?
No, I haven't. I know he comes with a big reputation, and I know some of the lads who do the under-23 stuff for Rovers Chat have seen more of him. But think of the discussion that we've been having this season about the amount of attacking options that we've got in particular. So, this move makes sense, and going and playing in a division like League One, which, to be fair to League One, is getting better and better. He's going to make a good fist of that division. So that move makes sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. And Michael Pearson waxing his lyrical of Vale to the Dale there, so that's a good one, Michael. And I think if anyone does follow League One, or anyone actually, not that I'm sort of encouraging betting, a lot's been made of Rochdale recently to be the team not to include on your accumulator, because their results have been 3-alls, 4-alls, plenty of goals. So that could be really, really, really an exciting move for him. Okay, we're going to now move on to have a look a bit more at HARWOOD BELLIS, who we've brought in from Manchester City on loan. So you can see we've got on screen there his stats, and from both the first team and the under-23s level. So he's played 4 appearances for the first team this year, I think all in cup competitions. He did have the pleasure of playing at Morecambe and Cheltenham, in the FA Cup recently. I think he played right back or right sided of the midfield. He's been on the bench a couple of times for City in the Premier League. Was someone we was linked with early in the transfer window, but that was ruled out. I think Garcia coming back to fitness for City and not going out to Barcelona has helped us sort of secure the move for him. There's reports from City that they rate him higher than Tosin, and we all know what Tosin did in a year for Rovers, so that's obviously really encouraging. He's 6'1" tall, very comfortable on the ball, and from his time at City, he's used to playing a high line and possession football. So, Alex, what do you think he can bring to the Rovers team?
The thing that I'm most interested about with this sign is the position that he's likely to play. I know certainly that he's more tending to be right-sided than left-sided, which for me is, maybe not an issue or a problem, but it's just an important thing to note that I think our main issues come down the left-hand side, particularly when you think of Williams and Wharton, who've played there this season, have both, got long-term injuries. And then you look at the right side and you think, well, Lenihan's been obviously ever present, even though he's quite injury prone. And then you have Ayala, who has never really looked at home on the left-hand side for me. And the partnership between Lenihan and Ayala has never really worked, in my opinion. I'd be interested to hear people's opinions of that in the comments, but I tend to go along with that line of thinking. And seeing that HARWOOD BELLIS had played at centre-back and then right-back made me think, well, is he here to kind of push Lenihan on? Because I can't see Lenihan being dropped at all. He's club captain now. So it's a very interesting one. I think one thing that has been discussed is moving to maybe 3 at the back. That's maybe an option. And obviously one that Mowbray has kind of tinkered with at times. He's never really gone with it on a consistent basis for a fair run of games. But that might be something that we see. On the player himself, again, I've not seen him play, week in, week out. I'm not an avid watcher of the Premier League 2, so I've not seen him play many minutes, The one thing I would say is, at least he's used to a pretty crap pitch. That's a good thing. Playing in the FA Cup at Cheltenham, so he'll be used to a pretty rubbish pitch, which is good for us. But yeah, a signing that I think the club wanted to make at the start of the window. I think, as Rich was alluding to earlier on in the show, the club kind of set out to sign Brathwaite and HARWOOD BELLIS, and I think they've got the 2 defenders that they wanted to get, and all kudos to the recruitment team and the manager, and then also obviously the owners for seeing that there was an issue with a certain position in the squad due to injury and financially supporting that. So yeah, I think there's a culmination of many good things there. obviously, with these young players, I'm mainly interested in seeing what they do for Rovers, really, rather than the reputations they come with. I think if he's anything like Tosin Adarabioyo was, then I think we've got a very good player on our hands. From everything that I hear, Man City fans rate him even more highly than Tosin, so maybe that should make us all collectively salivate at that prospect, because I think we all, didn't have enough, superlatives for Tosin last season. So yeah, let's hope he comes in and shows similar quality to what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people have not seen it, the short interview he did on the Rovers chat, I'm taking credit there, the Rovers official account, social media earlier, he spoke really well about the club, and looks like he's got a real sort of level head on his shoulders and wants to do well. If we can just bring up the comment from Ollie James, which links on a bit to what Alex has said. And I'll come to you on this, Ryan, but I'll also want to get the viewers' view as well. So now that we've got more centre-halves at our disposal, if people just want to put in the comments who they feel is our best choice pairing for the rest of the season, or whether it is a pairing or it's a trio. So Ryan, comment from Ollie here, Lenihan being our only fit defenders, the Tsars, and if the two lone centre-backs play better, does Darragh drop to the bench? So opinions on that, and then what you see moving forward as our best option in defence.
Yeah, I can't see Lenihan dropping to the bench in that circumstance. We need to take a long-term, realistic view on this. Branthwaite is going back next season, so is HARWOOD BELLIS. This is the club captain. This is someone that has played a number of appearances. This is someone that Tony Mowbray can trust. And we know that Mowbray likes the players that he can trust. Look at the games that the likes of Elliot Bennett have played. Lewis Travis was thrown straight back into the side. Bradley Dack will be back, soon. And Sam Gallagher's had good playing time as well. So Mowbray's not going to throw Lenihan under a bus like that. Absolutely not. He might take him out the firing line for one game. With the games coming thick and fast, it might be one game he's dropped for. But, if we are a side that is genuine, going for the top six, are we really going to be doing that with an 18 and a 19-year-old centre-back pairing? I can't see it as good as HARWOOD BELLIS and Branthwaite are going to be, but really good that Lenihan's now going to be on his toes, and also Ayala is also going to be on his toes. In terms of the best pairing going forward, we've covered at length on these streams that pairing at right and left centre-back, and how Lenihan and Ayala might not have looked comfortable together because of what foot they are. So with that, Branthwaite and Lenihan, just because it's a left foot and a right foot, are the two that I think would be the pairing that I want. But great that HARWOOD BELLIS is going to be coming and putting pressure on. And great that, amazingly, Daniel Ayala probably finds himself fourth choice now. And this is an experienced championship performer that's got promotion on his CV.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Ayala is an interesting one, because I remember back to the Brentford game where he actually got dropped after playing the previous game, and Wharton started, and then Wharton went off injured. So he's obviously annoyed about that, and then actually probably turned in his best Rovers performance of the season. So whether we'll see that back to the wall mentality. Just looking in the comments, Matty Holden's gone with Lenihan and Branthwaite. Dizzy Thumb's free at the back with Darragh Lenihan in the middle. And then Matty's also added another comment about Brantford and HARWOOD BELLIS being rotated. And I think he does raise a really good point around the injuries. It's only in the last, 2-3 games we've had a settled back five. Yeah. As Alex alluded to, Lenihan's not had his standard season injury. It was actually, 2 years ago, was it 2019, when the window closed? We didn't make any signings in defence. We let Paul Downing go, and then we played Brentford 2-0 up, sitting in the playoffs in the live table.
I was at that game. And so our playoff chances simmer away in about 2 hours. I don't think the club wanted to make the same mistake. And I think that's what you're seeing today, is that the club has learned its lessons. And I think when we talk about Rovers maybe not doing something that we might want, me in particular, I'm the negative one. what I want to see is that the club are trying to rectify mistakes they've made in the past. And I think what you're seeing today is the club realising in the past that they've maybe left themselves a bit short, left themselves a man short, and it's cost us in results. And I'm really glad that the club has seen that and has, acted in the market. I think that's something we can all be really glad about.
Right, right. Sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you there, Alex. We've got some breaking news come through. I'm just hearing in my ear, that Rich Sharp has tweeted that it looks like there's one more deal to confirm on the outgoing front for Rovers. Another one that will go down to the wire. So maybe McGlaw, I'm not sure, but it's more to watch out for there. So let's keep an eye on that one. If anyone hears anything, do let us know. We can see a comment from Cameron Hannon that Jack Fowle has completed a loan move to Rochdale to the end of the season. So done deal there. Great graphic use, Silent Dan. So that's another good real opportunity.
What I want to know is how he's managed to drive from Leicester to Rochdale in about an hour without driving at 140 miles an hour. So I'd be interested to see the state of his car when he pulled up at the Rochdale training ground, and wonder if he got a speeding ticket. I'll be interested to see that one. Yeah,
maybe it's we might see a picture of him tomorrow outside a service station on the M1 or something like that. So starting to see a little bit of the outgoings that we thought we'd see, which I think is great, and I think in some respects they are late, but from our perspective, we want to get these loans right for the youngsters. Thank you, Michael, for the comment and the graphics. As you can see, we've put a lot of effort into the effort tonight. So, Ryan, assuming that it is McGlaw, is that the right thing to do now that we've signed a couple of defenders in this window?
Yeah, I think so. And I hope it's at a good level as well. So I hope it's not the National League. I hope it's, preferably League One, but if not League Two, he needs to be tested at a decent level now, with all due respect to the National League. But, this is where loan signings can work out really well for us. HARWOOD BELLIS is a player who has been training with Man City for the last year or so, and the level of that training is just going to be on a different level to what McGloyer has been doing and where he might end up as well. So us being able to loan someone from Man City allows us to then send our players out on loan, like what we've seen with Joe Grayson as well. So I think it would be a good loan signing to sanction. Let's get him some more minutes in the Football League, and let's assess our situation in the summer and see what happens. We can't rule out things like Lenihan being subject to a bid in the summer. We can't rule out, for whatever reason, Daniel Ayala might have his contract ripped up because it's just not working for both parties. These are things that might happen in the summer. So these players need to go out on loan and give us that insurance policy and come into the squad like what Scott Wharton did this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I know with Scott Wharton, we questioned it a number of times. Is he ever going to make it? Is it going to be right for him? Why another loan, etc.? Is League Two his level? Then it's come back and shown us in the short time that he has still got potential. So just a quick update on that. Rich has tweeted back to the Rovers chat account that it is McGlaw that will go down to the wire. We had also been expecting Tom White to come back from his spell at Bolton and then be loaned out to a National League side. But with all the uncertainty about the National League, I know they've stopped it at the North and South level and possibly are going to stop it at the main conference level. It looks like he's going to probably stay at Bolton, and hopefully he does get a bit more time because there's been a little bit of a disappointing loan spell for him there. I know he's had injuries, etc., but he did get on really well with Ian Evatt when he spent time with him at Barrow last year as well. I've just seen Ollie James's comment. I'm not sure if Man City will take McGlaw on loan, but we never know. It's going to the wire. We might be surprised. We do also have some more breaking news, and I think actually my consistent asking, pleading, messaging about that has actually made people take action and thought this will get Jonathan quiet. We have actually now reached 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So that's absolutely fantastic, and really appreciate it. Really appreciate everyone's input, subscriptions, and keep watching all the stuff. We produce that much content. We want to make sure that it's right, really good, really useful, and everyone enjoys watching it. So another fantastic achievement by us all. And right on cue, we've got a nice little graphic again. So keeping with the sort of the transfer window then, and I'll come back to you on this, Alex. Obviously, we brought Branthwaite in quite early in the window. He's now played 3 games. He made his debut at home to Stoke, and then 2 successive clean sheets in the wins over Middlesbrough and Luton. Middlesbrough game is obviously a difficult one for him, which he recovered well from the early sort of penalty scare. But how's he settled in for you? And was Luton his best game that he's had so far on Saturday gone?
I've been really impressed with him. I think there was a bit of a distraction, particularly in the Stoke game. I think because the performance on the whole was quite abject, and I think we'd all agree on that. There wasn't much focus put on Branthwaite and the signs that he was showing, even in that game, that I think he had the ability to step up to this level. He came in, and I remember saying on the streams when, Ryan's been asking me these questions that, I was saying that, has he really played any first team football? He'd barely played any first team football, and he was a real kind of unknown quantity. But in the few games we've seen of him so far, I can't really praise him enough. He obviously still has that raw look about him, which I think you're going to have at that age. That's not a criticism. That's just an observation, really. But yeah, really, really impressed with him so far. And I think him coming in beside Lenihan and forming a bit of a consistent partnership has really been the first signs all season of us keeping clean sheets on a consistent basis. And is it really any surprise that when we start keeping those clean sheets on the regular, that we start getting points on the board again? I don't think we're playing much better than we did even in December. I mean, you look at the games in December, the Norwich game and the Stoke away game, I thought were better performances than what we've had this month, but we didn't get anything from them. And it's because of defensive frailties and defensive mistakes. And if we can iron those out, what you'll find in the Championship is you don't actually have to play particularly well to get the wins. And that's what, Neil Warnock and managers like that pride themselves on. It's getting the basics right. And if you do get the basics right in this league, you can get promoted without being, having too much flow going forward. But what I'm excited to see is a bit more consistency at the back, a few more clean sheets, and then also allowing our forward flair players to express themselves. And I think you'd always expect with the players that you see in the Rovers team for us to either create or score a chance in a game. It's pretty difficult to keep Rovers out for 90 minutes when you look at the squad we've got. So yeah, I think 20 games left. It's a lot of games. It's a lot of points to play for. We're going to have to keep a lot of clean sheets in those games if we want to get in the top 6. But is there any reason why we can't do it? With the reinforcements in January, it's as confident as I've been all season that we can. But we are going to have to show that consistency that we've not shown yet. We're going to have to step up that consistency level. And I think we'd all agree on that, it's been a bit too patchy this season. But if we get that consistency right, I think we can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You make a really good point about the sort of like winning ugly and not having to play well, because there's a comment I'd made earlier in our Rovers chat group that this year in 2021 we played 4 league games, won 3, drew 1, 10 points out of 12. On paper, that's momentum, that's good progress. But I don't actually feel that we've seen that in the performances. But how we have sort of strengthened and solidified at the back has been really interesting. And I'll come to you with a further question on that, Ryan, but just want to highlight a couple of things in the comments that have made me chuckle while Alex was talking, and credit to Lee B 1989 for that. First comment about him saying that Neil Warnock was the 1,000 subscription, which if was true would be absolutely amazing. I'm sure he'd only come on here to criticise all of our content and abuse us, but even so, you're welcome, Neil. And then his second comment, which I can confirm is not actually breaking news. He's mentioned about we go over live to a phone in on Rovers Chat with 𝐓𝐃 Singh. That's not going to happen. He may have texted me earlier trying to offer me a couple of young Portuguese players to come on to the chat, but I declined that for this evening. So just then back right into the sort of the defensive side of it, and I'm going to pick a bit on Lenihan here. Does he actually play better when he's got someone younger beside him, as in a Branthwaite, a Wharton, as opposed to a Ayala or Williams?
That's an interesting question, because there is some evidence there to say that that's true when you think of how well he's looked with Adebayo. And I don't think Williams is that far in age from him, is he? What's Williams? 26, 27? I could be wrong. I don't know. I think with Lenihan, the thing that I've always had my doubts with Lenihan about is he that true leader? So that type of performance we saw from Ayala away at Brentford, where you could see he clearly wanted it and he led that team through that 10-man performance. I don't think I've really ever seen that from Lenihan. You know, he's a good defender, but is he like the leader like that? And that's the thing I think we're missing with Lenihan. But now you've asked that question, yeah, maybe he does look like a younger defender next to him that he can just coach and guide, and he feels like he is the main man. Maybe when he is with someone like Ayala, who's a bit more experienced, he does go into his shell a little bit. I mean, how many times did Lenihan play with the likes of Duffy or Hanley or people like that? So maybe there is some evidence into that.
Yeah, maybe that's a stat show in the making, or some of Andy or Joe.
It's a really,
if you're listening.
It's a cracking question, that, Jonathan. I'd love to see what the stats are, you know, with the age of the centre back that's played. But I think first and foremost, I think when he's got someone who's comfortable in that position, that's the main thing I'm looking at. So Williams as a left footer, Adebayo, who's just a silky, classy footballer at championship level, and then Branthwaite coming in, who's a left footer. You know, that's probably what I'm focusing on more than the age of the player.
Yeah. So like you say, it's a really interesting point, and I just think the last couple of games, Lenihan has been superb, and how many headers he's won. And I think the thing that sums it up for me in the last couple of games is the incident at Middlesbrough where he's just come through the striker and Davenport at the same time. Just like that is what I would sum Lenihan up in a clip. Just on that, then I'll come back to you, Alex, on this one. Ollie James has just put in a comment saying, if we don't get any injuries at the back, I don't see Ayala getting on the pitch again this season. Agree? And then obviously I appreciate if she'd be in capital there, shouldn't it? Yeah.
If in inverted commas, capital letters, flashing lights, you know, whatever you want to put on if, because this season has been, you know, and I think you've seen it from a lot of clubs, you know, you only need to look at the English champions to see what can happen when defences get, you know, injured and the consequence that can have on results, performances. So Rovers are no different in that regard. I mean, I wish we had the quality that Liverpool have, but nonetheless, the point still stands. If we don't get any injuries at the back, I don't see Ayala getting on the pitch again this season. Interesting comment. What I would say is that I understand where you're coming from on that, particularly with Ayala tending to bias more to the right-hand side. I would preface that by saying that the wages that we are undoubtedly paying to Ayala probably dictate that when he is available to play in some capacity that he will get on the pitch. And I think that's just a sensible, understandable thing that, you know, a club in Rovers' position with, you know, who operate to a tighter budget than some clubs in this league, you know, will probably be playing our top players, and I think Ayala probably fits into that. But I agree with the sentiment, Ollie, that you're excited about the young players we brought in the window, and you know, wonder how Ayala fits back in the I would say that it's probably something that Marbury will be keen to not think about until he has to cross that bridge. Because I don't know how he's going to justify to two of Lennon, Branthwaite, HARWOOD, BELLIS or Ayala why they're not playing if they're all fit. And he'll have to do that at some point. So one thing I will say is that I don't envy managers. I don't envy football managers. I don't envy their selection decisions. I don't envy, the volatility of the job and needing to get the results. But undoubtedly, he'll have to make that call. I think we'll be here after the games to either praise him or slaughter him, depending on the result. So you can count on all of us for that. But yeah, I agree with the sentiment of the question. And I think right now, I would probably say that Lenihan and Branthwaite stay in there as the centre-back pairing just due to the clean sheets that we've been keeping. It's as simple as that. If they keep keeping clean sheets, then you can't change it. And I'm of the opinion that if it isn't broke, you don't fix it. So keep it as it is until there's a reason to change it for, whether it be injury or loss of form.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, if it's in one respect there, the whole back four shirts to lose at the moment, isn't it? We've craved consistency in the defensive unit all season, and we've had it the last 2 or 3 games. And the goals conceded column, only 1 in the last 4, has shown how that consistency's helped. And just jumping out on going back into the Josh King saga, who thought we'd mentioned his name so much in this stream. It looks like he's actually chosen to go to Everton over Fulham, a short-term permanent deal with Bournemouth receiving up to $5 million potentially. So that would obviously, it does have a knock-on effect in terms of what Rovers are going to get. And that has also been confirmed by Mark McAdam from Sky Sports News. And a big thanks to Mark as well for the video that he did for Rovers Chat promoting this transfer stream. And also thanks to Luke Kimberley, one of our own, for managing to sort that out.
One thing I will say on Josh King, I don't know if it's been reported, on the stream tonight, but I saw a tweet from Alan Myers just before saying that he negotiated the exit of Josh King from Rovers to Bournemouth, and stated that the fee was around £2 million going to Bournemouth from Rovers, and that we would get a percentage of profit from that. So you can deduct that if it's 5 million minus 2 million, that's 3 million, and then 20% of that would only be 600,000. So it's not groundbreaking money. It probably pays for Ronnie Pickering. So if you look at that, we're probably cost neutral today then.
Yeah, and credit for that quick maths this time of the night, Alex, as well. So that's why we freshened up the team, Ryan, isn't it? That's why we freshened up the team, so me and you didn't have to deal with that. Comment from Denver Green. Ryan, I'll come to you on this one, and this is something that we did sort of pick up with Rich and Jacob earlier about the left back situation. So Pickering coming in. What do we feel will happen in the summer? Probably, I reckon if we'd have asked this question 3 weeks ago, it would have been a case of Pickering comes in and then Bell and Douglas both go in the summer. What's your thoughts on this at the moment?
Yeah, well, the easy one is Amari Bell's not going to be at the club after the summer. I think that's pretty certain. So he'll be out of a contract, and then he can pick where he goes essentially. Probably at Championship or League One level is where he'll end up. Someone like Rotherham or one of the promoted clubs coming up will pick up Amari Bell and get a decent player. So he'll go. Now we've put all our eggs in the Harry Pickering basket. I can't see Barry Douglas being at Rovers next season. His wages will be fairly decent. He'll be looking for a contract which is going to see him through to the end of his career. And if we have made this investment in Harry Pickering, that's the way that we should go. So really, we should be either looking into our academy for a left back, or maybe someone cheap, or someone on a free, or an older head on a free, or another loan even from a Premier League club like Barry Douglas, but lesser wages that might just be the backup for Harry Pickering. So sadly, I can see both of them going. Now we have signed Pickering, definitely. It wouldn't make sense to me signing Douglas and Pickering when I think we are going to be fairly tight for cash in the summer, unless we do make a big sale, of course.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the summer, especially when we look at the long list of players we've got out of contract. Just quickly want to focus on one more incoming, and that's not Alex joining Countdown next week, though I think we would all like to see it. Whether he's as good at the letters round and the conundrum as he is at the numbers remains to be seen. There was one more signing that we did make through this transfer window, and that was young Joe Nolan, another lad that was released from Preston. He played against us in the FA Youth Cup last year in the same game that Dolan played, and he did set up the goal for Preston. He's been training with us before Christmas, signed a professional contract until 2022, I think. He played 3 games for the under-23s, coming on for Bradley Dack at Derby, I think, getting a goal, coming on for Bennett at Man City, and then scoring again tonight at Leicester. Lifelong boyhood Blackburn fan, which sounds absolutely fantastic when talking about your own players. Have you seen much of him, Alex, or know much about him to comment on?
I have to say I'm not an avid watcher of the 23. I know a lot of contributors on Rovers Chat do watch the 23s on the weekly, and I do confess to not be following them week by week. I've got enough on my plate with the first team and enough suffering with that to double the pain with the 23s. But maybe I should actually get invested in it with them being top of the league. I think, although I fear if I took more of an interest, they'd soon tank down. So I'd rather just ignore them and let them win the league and someone else tell me how they're getting on. But yeah, what I'd say about Donald is that whoever our scout was at that FA Youth Cup clearly knows what they're doing. I think one thing that does surprise me, and I think what you're seeing now with COVID specifically, is in the current climate, and particularly next summer, I think you're going to see a compression of the market, a real chickens come home to roost, not a Venky's pun, but a normal pun, in financial terms for a lot of clubs in transfer budgets. And what I think you're going to see is an increasing emphasis on bringing players through the youth systems, developing players for profits, selling them on. What you see from Rovers is a real coming together of that, buying players for cheap, developing them and selling them on, but then also keeping hold of that Category 1 academy, which has served us so well. I don't really think you can, when you look at all the clubs in this league, one thing I don't think a lot of people give us credit for is quite often we have 4 or 5 or even 6 of the match day 18 from the academy. And I don't think any other championship club can claim that or even close to that. And I think we've probably got one of the youngest squads in the league and, one of the most homegrown squads in the league. So I think there are things definitely for us all to be quite proud of. I think it's something that's quite unique. And all I would say on Nolan is that I've not seen him play. I can't comment on his game. It would be unfair to comment on a public forum on the internet about him without seeing him play. It would be deeply unfair to do that. But what I would say is that I hope, obviously he's a Rovers fan, I hope he comes in, hits the ground, does well like Tyree Stolen has done. And you never know if he catches the eye in pre-season this time round, for the upcoming season, then you just never know in football. He could get a couple of chances and then he could be in the first team. So yeah, the onus is on him to keep his head down and keep going. Yeah,
so thanks Alex for that, and apologies for putting you on the spot with that one. But if any of our viewers had watched the under-23 game before joining us tonight, do let us know in the comments how Nolan did, because we'd be really interested to see. Just going to go back to a comment from Andy Watson. Thanks, Andy, for this on the Douglas situation. Really valid point, really. So it sort of makes the point about if we're building the squad, we need someone of a different type, left back. Douglas and Harry Pickering, too similar, highlighting JRC's versatility, plus also Thompson from the under-23s, who at one point was also linked with a loan move out, but that doesn't look like it's materialised. On that subject of loan moves out, the first one that we saw go out today, Ryan, was Joe Grayson, who has gone to Oxford, etc. What do you feel? What do you think about the move? Good move for him?
Yeah, I think it's a great move. If we think of the football that Mowbray's trying to play at Rovers and the football that Carl Robinson does play at Oxford, very similar possession-based, nice footballing teams. So hopefully Joe Grayson can go and get a good education that way under Carl Robinson and come back a better rounded player in that sense. Obviously, very similar to the comments I made about Magloire earlier on, where, you know, we're making two cracking loan signings in Branthwaite and HARWOOD BELLIS. So let's go and get those two out on loan, get some Football League experience, get some minutes under their belt, and hopefully see the improvement in them that we have with Scott Wharton as well. Again, because we just don't know what's going to happen in the summer. I've always had a niggle about Darragh Lenihan. I don't know why. I know Sheffield United have sniffed around in the past, and I just think it's really sensible to go and get centre-back some game time and some experience, because Lenihan is a sellable asset for the club at this moment in time. And we just need to protect ourselves that we're not having to fish into the transfer market all the time. So really good that they can go and get minutes under their belt, and hopefully we see the improvement like we did with Wharton. But I think the club is perfect, absolutely perfect in terms of the way that Oxford United play and the way that Carl Robinson is as a manager.
Yeah, absolutely. I do really think it's a good move. I think it's a good fit as well, and I'm really keen to see how he moves. So just taking a note of the time, we have now approached the last minute of the transfer window, the winter 2021 transfer window. So at the moment, confirmed business for Rovers today is the bringing in of two signings. Harry Pickering from Crewe, 4-year deal. A fee rumoured to be about 650k. He's gone back to Crewe on loan for the rest of the season. Also brought in Taylor HARWOOD-BELLIS on loan from Manchester City. At the moment, there's no more talk of us bringing in anyone else. I think that window's probably gone. We don't necessarily have to announce the signing by 11 o'clock in answer to Boss Dog TV's question, but we do have to submit a piece of paperwork, which gives us a bit longer to actually get the deal over the line, but there's been no indication of that. In terms of outgoings, we've seen Joe Grayson, as we've just discussed, go to Oxford, and as the window slams. Okay, we can say the window's now officially closed. We've seen Joe Grayson go out on loan to Oxford, and also Jack Vale go out on loan to Rochdale. As Rich Sharp has said, there is one more in the balance, which is Tyler McGraw. That could well be one more that we don't see anything of this evening that might come out tomorrow. We're going to stay on for another 15 minutes just in case we do see any more activity or confirmation come through. Just also to again highlight something that Andy Watson just put in, linked to our under-23s and academy, etc. So absolutely fantastic to see the Premier League table, us top of it, followed by Spurs, City, Chelsea, Everton, Liverpool, Arsenal, United. And if you considered that at first team level, where those clubs are in comparison to us is absolutely amazing. I think then it's a good point to sort of really highlight the support that we've had from the owners, and in terms of keeping that Category 1 academy going on, really. So really great to see, and they've been really consistent the whole season through, and I've seen 3 or 4 of their matches, and it's good to see the sort of youngsters progress and move through. And for any more info on that, do follow the Rovers Chat Academy channels. Really some really good content, podcasts, blogs, etc. coming through from that, and a good regular feature that we do on a Monday or Tuesday. It did come out today as a loan watch, really. So just let you know how all the players are doing on loan, etc. All right, so we've got, as I say, we've got 15 more minutes to go. If anyone's got any more questions, do drop them in. We can take any sort of questions. If not, we'll just focus a little bit more on the sort of outgoings, and I'll get your opinion on this one, Alex, because we did talk to it in part one with Rich. Harry Chapman gone to Shrewsbury, made 3 appearances. I've said on record a number of times I thought that was it. Didn't see him in a Blackburn shirt anymore. Obviously done really well there. Rave reviews from all the performances. Got 2 at the weekend against Peterborough. Seems to be playing in a sort of free role and being allowed to do what he wants. Do you think he's playing for a contract, or do you think it is the end of him at Rovers, or is it too early to say, bearing in mind what we've seen over the last month?
He's for a contract. I don't know whether that contract will necessarily be at Rovers or not. I think that's the that really is the key issue. I have to say, when I saw the loan deal announced, I, like you, thought, well, that is the last we'll see of him. One thing I would, preface that by saying is that I thought that Scott Walton's time at the club was up, not because I disliked him, not because I thought he wasn't good enough. It was because he just was never really given a chance in the first team, and loan after loan in Leagues 1 and Leagues 2 just didn't look like he was making much progress. And then all of a sudden, he gets thrust into the limelight of the first team and really takes to it. So a lot can change very, very quickly in football. What I would say is that my initial instinct on seeing the deal was that was it for him at Rovers. If he does go in the summer, obviously it goes with my blessing and best wishes. He was certainly a player that brought a lot of smiles to our faces at the start of that League One campaign. It was a time at the club, at least, when I think a lot of us were all on a bit of a downer for understandable reasons. And I think him coming in and showing a bit of his trickery and a bit of his direct play, I think it kind of cheered us all up a bit and was a bit different. So I'll never forget him for that. What I think was the big shame at Rovers, and what really was a blot on his whole Rovers career, was that horrendous injury that he suffered at the DW Stadium, actually, wasn't it? Or I think it was around that time. It might have been at the DW. I think it was. And that he's never really recovered from that, in my opinion. He's never really had a consistent run in the team. I've never been down to Brockhall and watched the players train, so I can't comment on this, but the reports are that compared to some of the other players in the squad, that maybe his training methods and his habits aren't up to the same standard of maybe some of the other players that he can picked. And all these things that the manager does weigh up when they're trying to pick who gets in the team and who doesn't, and maybe who makes the bench and who doesn't on a match day. They will often pick the player that's worked hardest in training. And I think often Mowbray has shown with his selections that he doesn't think that Chapman's maybe worked as hard as some of the other players in the team. I can't form that judgment. I wasn't at training. I haven't seen him train. That's only what I hear, and what I hear is passed on. And obviously what you hear from the manager about attitude, and I think Mowbray's referred to that in the local media, so it's not an unfair thing to say and bring up. But yeah, like you say, I think he thrives at League One level. I think some players, just like there's players that thrive at Championship level and aren't quite good enough to make that step up to the Premiership, I think equally there's players that thrive at League One that can't really make that jump into the Championship. And maybe Harry Chapman is one of those players. I don't know. But like I say, if it is the last we've seen of him, I wish him all the best and thank him for making, albeit, altogether small, but nonetheless an important contribution to getting Rovers back to where they are now, compared to that horrendous state of Brentford not only 3 years ago. So yeah, he has my thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. There were certainly spells in the League One thing where he really lit up and got fans off their seats. So just going to have a couple more questions that focus on moving forward. First of all, just going to plug the Taylor, HARWOOD, BELLIS stats show that's coming tomorrow. So Andy and Joe be giving the numbers and the backgrounds to the City lad and how he might fit in. So that'll be another fantastic watch. So do watch out for that, and that'll be on our YouTube channel. So if you have subscribed, you'll get the notification. It'll also be plastered across our Rovers Chat social channels as well. And a question for you, Ryan. The deadline's now closed. We need to start looking forward. 20 big games left in this season. QPR away Saturday. How do you think we'll do?
Yeah, so I'm not going to answer this one in full, but QPR have obviously got a bit of a revival going on at the moment. So Matt, now you are subscribed, I hope. We do have a lot of regular content before each game, either in the midweek or on the Saturday. So we start it off on a Friday evening at 8 p.m. I do a show called On the Other Side, where I'll chat to the opposition fan. So this Friday at 8, I'll be chatting to a QPR fan, and we'll get the lowdown on their team and how they play and how they think the game's going to go. And then every Saturday and every midweek game as well, we're live for a pre-match live stream about an hour or so before kickoff, get the live team news reaction, and then close that stream. And then after the game, we're live for another hour post-match live stream just to talk about the result and see how the game's gone. So I'll be able to tell you how I think we're going to do against QPR, either on the other side or on the pre-match live stream if you want to join us. And yeah, just to back up what you said, Jonathan, Andy and Joe do great stuff with the stat shows and gives a really different insight into Rovers, more than what my simple brain can comprehend. So for people that do like stats, do go and check out what Andy and Joe do. It's brilliant. I've just seen that comment.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm. No, I'm going to say no on that.
I've been called Vince Greller, Liam Cooper, and never Tom Tribal.
Okay, so anyone, the comments, more, who is it? Greller, Cooper, or Tom Tribal? We'll have a little vote on that before we go. Just going to finish on one more question for Alex, which is from Ollie James. Focuses on one of our current loanees at the moment, Harvey Elliott. Do you think we could get Elliott on loan for another season if we get promoted? He feels it would be the ideal progression for Elliott if that is the case.
There's so many moving parts to that question, isn't there? Wow, thinking about that, we'd have to get in the top 6, then we'd have to go to Wembley and win. Then we'd have to think about the Premiership and how not to get 11 points and be the worst team ever. So we'd have to do some recruiting. And if that was the case, then I think Harvey Elliott would certainly come into the reckoning for that. I think he might come into the reckoning even if we don't get promoted, but I think the issue might be that we'll have a lot more competition from other clubs in the Championship with bigger budgets who are maybe willing to offer a greater percentage of the wages, and maybe Shebby can come in with a offer. Maybe he's become global advisor somewhere else and can help out there. But what I would say is that if other clubs come in for him, if we're still in the Championship, and offer a bigger, more financially appealing package to him, then I can't see how he will be able to compete with that. I think you move to Neymar and so many variables. You look at the number of players out of contract. There's going to be a lot of money shed off the wage bill in the summer. That's for certain now when you look at the players out of contract. And then obviously, as Ryan's mentioned, you see the moving parts potentially of an Armstrong sale or something like that, which could offer more funds into the kitty. So there are a lot of variables there, Ollie. What I would say is that if we did get promoted, then I think there's a good chance of that. If we don't get promoted, I think the chances really diminish.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I actually feel the only chance we've got is if we do go up. And thank you for Shebby for finally joining us. I'm a bit disappointed it's taken him to 11:09 to make a comment, and we've been live for 2 hours and 40 minutes. But you're here, so that's all we can.
I want to believe it's him so bad. I'm just going to believe it's him.
If it had a walking stick and he was abusing Pedersen, then I might give him a bit more credit.
Oh God.
Okay, so there is just one more thing before I conclude. So I have seen that Cameron he actually now has gone Liam Cooper for you, Ryan. I don't know if we've got anything else that we can use to add value to that. So this could actually be Grella, Cooper and Tribal for all the fans at home that are looking for. So again, spot on with the graphics, Dan. So yeah, but that's it now for our live episode of Transfer Talk, and thanks everyone for your help and support. It's been a good day for Rovers in terms of making 2 new signings that we were expecting in Pickering and Taylor Hartford-Bellis, and to see a couple of the youngsters go out the door to get some valuable loan experience, Joe Grace and Jack Vale, and hopefully it will be announced shortly, Tyler McGraw. It's fair to say actually this year we've actually been spoiled on transfer deadline day. It's been a lot better than previous seasons to have the 4 signings in August, September time, and then 2 today has been great. So there must be credit go to the recruitment team, the manager, and on a serious note, credit to the owners for continuously backing the club. Thanks tonight to Luke, Ryan, and Alex for their input being on the panel. Massive thank you for Jacob and Rich for supporting us tonight. As I've said numerous times, we're really lucky as Rover fans that we have them as our in the nose. They keep us up to date with everything. Thanks to everyone on the Rovers Chat team for all they've done today to keep providing the endless content that we've been going for literally nearly all of today with blogs, stat shows, articles, social media. Specifically, Joe, Andy, Adrian, Luke giving up their time. And then a final thank you actually to Dan, aka Silent Dan, in the background for making everything run so smoothly, bring up the graphics, the ticker, making this look like a real transfer deadline. It's really great. And then just thanks to everyone who's watched, participated tonight. I hope you really enjoyed it. As hopefully you'll know, this Transfer Talk series is a new thing that we've run for Rovers Chat in this transfer window. So if this is something that you'd like to see continued for the summer transfer window, then do just let us know. You can comment now, like this video, subscribe to our channel, give us some feedback on the Twitter channel. We just want to make sure that we're really producing content that you want to see. Chevy, we'll consider it, okay? As long as you keep showing up, showing good behaviour, then we'll certainly consider it. So
we're at 1K now, big time. We're going to need a global advisor soon.
Exactly. If you can prove to us, Chevy, you can take us to that next level, then we're willing to have a conversation with you.
In fact, I believe a lot of our regular listeners are global in geography, so maybe we do need a global advisor.
Absolutely. Right. What better way to leave on that note then? So thanks everyone again for watching. Really appreciate it, and hopefully see you all again soon.
Bye.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.